Hello, mate. Welcome to the MODUS Super Series, where the Group B action gets underway tonight, where we are going to find out our further three identities towards the finals night field on Saturday night. They are all looking to join Darrell Pilgrim in that particular occasion, if I get my teeth in, for that potential place, the £5,000 top prize and the last place at Champions Reach, which begins in earnest on Monday morning. Well, we saw a spectacular session early on today in Group C. Let's round up the best of the action. Benito van der Pas won one of his 5 games so far today, so he is going to need an almighty push going into tomorrow's session, but 2 points should not discredit anyone from progression. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Martin Grierson ended his day well. He picked up 2 wins towards the latter stages, including some big finishes like this 120 checkout. As for Jamie Durrant, 2 wins for him as well on his first day's action. He'll be looking to improve come his Friday session here at the Super Series. As for Chris Corntock, a solid 3 victories. I mean, solid probably was the best word to describe him over the course of the day. As for Colin Osborne, 3 wins from 5. He'll still feel there's more gears to go going into his second day assault in Group C. But the man they've all got a prize apart is Justin Smith. 4 wins from 5, and he'll feel there's gears to go. So that is what we saw earlier on this afternoon in Group C. Happy to say that we are joined tonight in the company of the 3-time Lakeside champion, Glenn Durrant. Glenn, let's look back at what we saw this afternoon, because we saw an intriguing session where I feel like every single player will think that there was more for them to go through, more gears for them to go through.
Yeah, I like to give praise where necessary, but sometimes, you know, you try to give a little bit of criticism. And I thought it was quite disappointing, actually. I don't think anyone really stood out, but I think the class of Justin Smith, even with his C game, you know, to be leading with 4 wins there, but he didn't play anywhere near like he can.
Well, this is how the table ended up on the first day's action here at the Live Lounge. Justin Smith leading the way, having won 4 of his 5 matches to kickstart the group. So for him, yes, in terms of points, it was a really good start. But even on his mannerisms on the stage, he wasn't happy with his overall level of performance.
Because he's that good. But like I said, talent's only 50%, I've said many times in commentary. And it was the other aspects, just a little bit lackadaisical, maybe just felt it looked like it was too easy for him at times. But what a talented boy.
So let's have a look at the numerics of today's session. This is Group C by the numbers. Now, we saw 85 legs played. The first few games actually went quite quickly, and then towards the tail end, we saw a lot of last leg deciders. For me, the stat that's really intriguing is the second one on the bracket there. 32 breaks a throw.
Yeah, it was a very, very tight contest. So many 4-3s, and you know, obviously that's going to kickstart that one. The one that stands out for me was 21 180s. It was really disappointing numbers there. But then if you look at the overall average, 86.91, we talk so much about how good the Group A was, which averaged around about 87 marks. So maybe I'm doing it a little bit unjust.
Most certainly. So that was Group C. Now, that's going to continue tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. Our focus here this evening for those of you watching here on Sporty Stuff TV is the beginning of Group B. And what a fantastic field we have for action here this evening at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And perhaps the theme of it is going to be a little bit of commentators' derby.
Yeah, I mean, like, joking aside, obviously, with Matt Edgar and Scott Mitchell here, this Group B is the real deal. All 5 players are fabulous, absolutely fantastic. I would really struggle to get 3 from 5. I'm a big fan of the 2 players coming up. First of all, Andreas Harrison was really disappointed not to get through to Champions Week last time, and he wants to correct them and, you know, and put that right. And Richie Parkin was a revelation here last time. And when you throw into the pot, you know, the 2 commentators in Mitchell and, you know, it's just an Edgar as well. I mean, it's just a fantastic competition.
For Andreas Harrison, he would be disappointed not to get through Group A, but you feel like he's the player who has the kind of mindset to go into a new group like this and adjust to it very well.
You can't read him, and that's a very Scandinavian thing. And, you know, I just think his biggest attribute is the fact he doesn't give an awful lot away. He's an exciting player. You know, he does things that you least expect. He'd be averaging over 100 1 minute without the fireworks. But, you know, his biggest strength is him.
Most certainly. So let's see what the bookmakers make of Group B. Now, this is the outright betting before play gets underway. Perhaps not a surprise that Scott Mitchell's at the top of the betting. We see come off the PDC Pro Tour and has been involved in a lot of matches in the seniors and done well on the Challenge Tour. However, your friend and colleague Matthew Edgar, 6-1. Now, we didn't know much about him going into the Iceland weekend last weekend. It's been a mixed bag, but he's come into this having won a title, a WDF's title as well. Yeah,
just speaking to him, though, I think just being here right now for Matthew is a big success for him there. I'm surprised how wide Richie Parkin is at 22-1, knowing him like I do so well. But the bookies don't often get it wrong. Jim McEwen's very interesting because on Wednesday, in part of his Group A, I thought he was sensational. If he brings that form in Group B, he could be very dangerous.
Let's have a look at Duzz's tips for the senior, paying out, shall I say, 11.14 to 1. To be honest, the biggest disappointment, Glenn, is I thought you were going to back Edgar to lose all 4.
Well, I did, but I'm trying to be nice to Matthew Edgar, and as I walked through the players area there, he shot a little jibe at me. So I wish I'd stuck with the original plan there. But, yeah, it might surprise you, the first one. Scott Mitchell, big scorer, but a big ton 40 hitter is Scott Mitchell. But I've got him there just... If Jim McEwen hit 4 180s in 3 of the games at the end, so that's why it's so wide at 13-5. I just think that's really good odds, and I think it's going to be really tight between Matt Edgar and Richie Parkin, and exactly the same. I think we'll see a lot of 180s between Andreas Harrison and Scott Mitchell. So at nearly 12-1. It's an outside bet, but we'll give it a go.
Yes, it's Aka landed early. Well, Duzz's tips do exactly the same. Game 1 of our night is going to see Richie Parkin in action. He's going to take on our super Swede in Andreas Harrison. Time to get the action underway then. This man's going to make his way down to the commentary box to describe all the toes, all the throws, all the tucks and tension there is to come on this tenacious Thursday here at the Super Series. And joining Glenn is Paul Nicholson. Hello, Paul.
Good evening, Henry, and good evening to everybody tuning in. I'm glad you have made the decision to join us. And here are your first 2 combatants for Group B here in Week 12. We are not far away from Champions Week. And one of these 2 players, or even both of them, could indeed qualify for the finals, which will take place here on Saturday night. Andreas Harrison, nicknamed Dirty for obvious reasons, because Dirty Harrison has a very movie connotation with it, will take on this man, the 38-year-old from Whitby, who, in the words of Glenn Durrant, at the top of the show, he was a revelation when it came to the last time he was here, and he got pretty close to getting to Champions Week on that occasion. Justin Bradshaw is your referee for the evening.
Game on.
So let's get cracking with this man from Whitby up against one of, if not, Sweden's very best.
80.
Yeah, I've had the luxury of sort of commentating for Andreas sort of the past 2 times he's been at the MODUS Super Series, and he's a very impressive individual. Nothing will really fluster him.
43.
One thing I haven't seen is how he reacts to sort of playing on the night, and has he had a good rest since he played. I think it was a very, very good Group A he played in, and just come across a very inspired Darryl Pilgrim.
30.
Who was very, very good, and the Whitby Warrior there. Richie Parkin was absolutely sensational last time he was in. Now there's that expectation.
81.
Really interesting to see how he reacts, but he's the big, big underdog in this Group of 5. And hopefully that makes him relax.
Is he really nicknamed Thriller?
Yeah. It's been, obviously, we started the Teesside ranking events in 2007, 2008. And obviously he was very, very prolific in them. And a big winner, sort of, when I sort of stopped playing, but I've always followed his career.
100.
In fact, he picks me up on a Thursday night and I go down to the Cargafleet Club with him for the Stockton Darts League. So he's just a great lad. He's just a very nice person. And I want him to get all the success in the world, but
95.
I just think he lost a little bit of belief against Jamie Kellen when he reached the final of the... I don't think he could believe he was in it. The hope and the expectation from home. So I think sort of got to him in the end, but he loved it.
We'll see what he can do over the next couple of nights, because he has 4 matches tonight, 4 matches on Friday night as well. And if he makes it to double figures in points,
Andreas, you require 137.
he's got an excellent chance of making another Saturday night And having that experience sometimes can be a very big asset to your chances of making the final 12
57.
of indeed the stage, or
Richie requires
the
74.
series as we call it.
And these are the types of finishes. When you're the big underdog, you're not going to get many chances because you're up against top-notch players. He needs to hit these types of
Game
finishes.
shot
And
and
they're
the
the
first
kind of
leg.
things he was
Richie
doing.
Parkin.
And Richie Parkin, Paul, is really someone who will feed off confidence. He's a highly motivated
Second leg is
individual
Andreas
who wants
throw
to
first.
succeed.
Game on.
And just to give an explanation of his game, Paul, he went to Q School last year and his first match was 116 average. He didn't win another
100.
game after that.
That's really interesting. It's almost as if he peaked for that first game. And I don't know Richie. I've only
81.
said hello to him for the first time today. But when something like that happens, you must put extra pressure on yourself the next time you play and the next time you play, because you want to maintain that level.
28.
Yeah, I think it's the word is expectation. Obviously, the people around him, and you could hear the gasp when people saw his average. And then, like you said, his next game was in the 70s
60.
and 80s averages, and it's in there with Richie. Like I said, you couldn't wish to meet a nicer lad, and wish him all the success in the world. But he's up against some of the big boys tonight. Like I said, it's 22 to 1. Sort of tells you the tale of the tape that he's not expected to get through this group. So he's got to use that as his motivation.
The Dirty Harry is expected to make it through this group because of what he did in Group A.
70.
22 points and a leg difference of plus 11. In some groups, that would be enough to win Group A, but not this week. Like Glenn mentioned, Daryl Pilgrim's already safe. Maybe
60.
watching from his accommodation with his feet up. I hope you're enjoying that, Daryl. We'll see you on Saturday night.
Yeah,
But he's now gone back to 0 points, so he's got to start again.
Yeah, I don't you
30.
think of this, Paul, but Daryl actually went home. He's about an hour and a half away, and he made the decision to spend a couple of days in his bed.
That's fair enough. I don't think that's a bad play at all, because when you don't live too far away, that's a luxury you can have. Maybe not a luxury that someone like Andreas would have, or maybe a Jacob Taylor.
The luxury of hitting a 177 there from Andreas, giving him full control of this leg. And I think we'll see some really, really good darts tonight. I'm expecting big scores, big averages.
60.
Real good
Andreas
contests.
requires 36.
Might have to go a bit above that one,
Game
just
shot
to
and the
flick
second
it in
leg.
that way,
Andreas
because
Harrison.
his darts tend to float. And that's a really nice shot there from Andreas, who
Second
is
leg is Richie to
vastly
throw. Third leg is
experienced.
Richie to throw first.
Has played
Game
at
on.
European Tour level. He's played in World Championships before. And is a really good Swedish international too.
54.
One of the mainstays of the Swedish international team, with the likes of Daniel Larsson, Dennis Nielsen, Oskar Lukasiak.
Yeah, his actual pairs partner as well.
140.
Is one of the players, real muscle man of the game is Dennis Nielsen. And they've played pairs and won big competitions in Sweden. From a very remote part of Sweden. Very interesting
54.
story about Andreas. He really is in the outback of Sweden, and yet he's created this darting area, and he's got players playing regular now around there, and yeah, he's very, very proud of that. Loves his
91.
speedway as well, so him and Scott Mitchell will be having a good chat tonight.
I am sure they will be. Please tell me he's got some sort of darting yurt. I can really picture that in my mind with a little bit of
81.
open fire in the background. But maybe I'm just spending a bit too much time in the multiverse. Or what is it called? The virtual universe.
Metaverse,
Metaverse, that's right.
180.
But this is reality, and Andreas Harrison is starting to get his way back into this one the best way he knows how, with some very effective scoring. He gets the first maximum of the match.
Yeah, the time in the 177 in the last leg. The
21.
180 in this leg, and he's
Andreas, you
taken
require
absolute
90.
control. And for Richie Parkin, it was also effortless last time he was here. Let's see what he's made of now, because this guy is relentless.
Game shot
there's
and the
that
third
hovering
leg.
dart, as you can
Andreas
see.
Harrison.
That was so well thrown. A 2-1 lead. And there's all of a sudden 30 between them in the
Fourth leg
averages.
is Andreas to throw
Harrison
first.
going up.
Game on.
And Parkin starting to decrease or regress Needs to arrest that immediately, otherwise he may be in trouble in this first game of the group.
140.
Yeah, Andreas is from Morlila in the outback of Sweden. And his wife Petra is here. I've just been chatting with her upstairs. And like I said, his Speedway fan and his team is
121.
Dakana. And he missed double 16 last time to get to the finals night of MODUS Super Series. And the disappointment was huge.
81.
Paul touched on his Nordic rankings. 8th he is at the moment. Very consistent player.
140.
That's a little bit better from Parkin, who's going to have to lift his level quite quickly here. Very upright stance. Micro prod of the dart, and then it's almost like he throws the flight over the top
85.
of the barrel to get it to land flat. That's how he wants to do it. It's a very unusual setup he's got with his equipment as well. That vastly tapered dart with that kite-shaped flight. It's very unusual.
180.
Much better from Richie Parkin as we wax lyrical about Andreas Harrison. And we talked an awful lot. His perfect dart is just under the treble 20. And there is the perfect dart for him with his first
59.
dart. And his follow-through is
requires
different.
60.
Very much Johnny Clayton-like. But Richie Parkin for an 11 darter from nowhere.
Just wanted to check to see where Andreas was, actually. Maybe got a bit distracted.
20.
As a result, Harrison's got a freebie
Andreas, you
here.
require
We
136.
did see Benito van der Pas try the 16s route on this a little bit earlier. But Harrison's got an ideal first dart. And double 18 tops, I can see why.
114.
I'll disagree with you
Richie
there, Paul, 'cause I thought that
40.
was the perfect marker for him. Speaking of good markers, this has to go.
20.
Unfortunately, Parkin
Andreas, you
may
require
pay the
22.
price for that miss. But what I don't get, Glenn, is why he hit double 18 to leave double 11. But it's worked.
Game shot and the fourth leg.
That
Andreas
is a killer
Harrison.
dart for Richie Parkin, because when you're standing on the fact he's on double 11, first two darts he misses, then you're thinking, I'm going to get one more
Fifth
chance.
leg is Richie to throw
The
first.
disappointment
Game
in Richie
on.
Parkin is evident. Parkin is not fine.
I see what you did there. I quite like that.
125.
Yeah, we said so many last time that the headlines will be Parkin fine because he just loved every single minute of it here. He spoke about it. We talked about it local league.
100.
And lifted him so much that he wanted, give him the kickstart. In fact, the winnings he made from the MODUS Super Series last time paid for his entry in Q School. He wasn't going to go. He openly admits he's working in a...
85.
I think he's still working in the fish factory. He often drops me a bag of scampi off, actually, when he picks me up on a Thursday.
I bet it's good stuff as well.
It's from Whitby.
Of course it's good.
55.
I hope the boss isn't listening. I've grassed him up.
I'll let you handle that when you get back to the northeast. Well, if he gets 3 good darts all in a line, you could say
95.
he's parallel Parkin.
Now it's sat next to Henry Deacon.
See, that angle there for Harrison is
Yeah.
just a little bit unusual. It seems to be going in
96.
sideways at the end.
Yeah.
But he knows how they behave when they clasp together.
His follow-through, if you watch that, Paul, is so unconventional. So I think there's only really Johnny Clayton I could sort of give a
30.
parallel to. There's no massive follow-through. It's as if he pulls... That's the perfect dart, Paul, for him. Fully expect a ton.
41.
Thank you, Andreas.
Well, just to make a somewhat Parkin-style joke, he's just done you like a kipper.
46.
Got to be a little bit better this time. 41 again, and he'll be on a bogey number, but he's not going to have anything like that by the looks of it. Oh, he's got to move.
75.
Well done.
And for a second
Richie
there, I thought he
require
wasn't, but it's so
120.
key this first game. 3 from 5. If you can just get off with them 2 points, and it's looking right now, it's going to be a super start for the Swede.
40.
He has been
Andreas, you require
the better player in this
134.
game. with the higher average throughout. And even a slightly more experienced dog may try a new trick now and again. 18's first on 134 is a bit of a new school
56.
tactic.
Richie require 80.
Decisions to be made. He seems to be looking high, and I think he was in the middle of either decision there, and that is slack. That's a little bit disappointing. Hasn't gone to plan for Richie Parkin. He had
40.
all the plaudits last time he was here.
Andreas, you require
See
78.
how he reacts under a little bit of adversity.
To apply the adversity, it's tops.
38.
And that was a first match-winning chance
Richie
for Dirty
require
Harrison.
40.
Parkin is very much alive in this
Game shot and the fifth
now
leg.
that
Richie
he's got that double.
Parkin.
He doesn't have the darts in leg 6, but I can assure you if he breaks here, he will be the
Sixth leg is
favourite.
Andreas to throw first. Game on.
All Richie Parkin wants to hear now is a treble-less visit. Sometimes you just look at the floor, and when you hear 180 or 140, well, if you hear 41, it can have such a big impact. But Richie is looking at the darts there.
58.
And he'll be absolutely delighted. Hence the reason he's virtually at the hockey before Andreas takes his darts out.
If your nickname's Thriller, is it a foregone conclusion
58.
what your walk-on music is if you go to the stage?
Do you know, we used to have walk-ons. We tried to make it a little bit special, and he came out to a different song. And I was
Well,
like,
that's just bad brand recognition, Richie. I'm not on board with that at all.
I was like,
100.
go figure.
I actually really like that as a nickname, and I prefer nicknames that are more punctuated, that don't have a
43.
the at the end, because there's too many the's. I mean, I'm looking at my extensive database here, which has given me some information about Richie, talking about the fact that he's played in 4 Challenge Tour events and
100.
things like the Scottish Open and the Welsh Open, and it's got him down as the Thriller. I am disregarding that because all I've got to do is look at his shirt to understand there's no the.
120.
All he wants to be recognised is the winner.
Yes, and that 60 on the floor there could be the deciding factor in this game. Once again, that's the ideal position for him. He's not proving me right here, but after watching him, just
97.
like the fact just to sit under there, and you feel now Richie needs at least a 140.
Now, for me, that dart is going in quite slowly, which means there needs to be a bit more effort put into that release.
28.
I would say he's a
Andreas
very
Jacquard,
smooth action.
146.
But yeah, I think exactly the same there. There's the acceleration on the point of release is not correct at the moment.
That's very tight.
130.
You can't ask for much more, really, when your opponent is only at the halfway point of the leg. You're guaranteed 3 more darts for the match. He's already missed tops to win by 4 legs to 1.
92.
But if you'd offered
Andreas
Andreas
requires
4-2 as a
16.
win in his first game, you would have had your hand off. Second dart
Game.
finds the
shot.
target,
And the match.
he gets his
Andreas
first 2
Harrison.
points in Group B without much stress whatsoever. Dirty Harrison, you can see that he's got plenty of guns, and will they be blazing over the next couple of nights? It's Parkin who has to recover after averaging 72.22 there, but Harrison, 86 and change and 40% on the doubles. That may be a formula that gets him enough points to get to another Saturday night potentially. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, it's a first hello to Scott Mitchell on the hockey up against Scotland's Jim McEwen.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Andreas Harrison has got his campaign off to a perfect start, an 86.5 average and a 4-2 success against Richie Parkin. Next up for us, Jim McEwen, who we've seen in Group A this week. He takes on Scott Mitchell. It might be a debut playing in this competition for Scotty Dog, but we have seen him once or twice in the commentary box. But how is he going to get on the stage playing? We're about to find out in the company of Paul Nicholson and Glenn Durrant.
Thank you so much, Henry. We really did promise you a really strong Group B. And these two players here, Jim McEwen, who's just retrieving his darts, one of the successes of the MODUS Super Series, against one of the toughest opponents I've ever played. We were 1 and 2 in the BDO for a long, long time, even to the stage where, you know, it was getting in the way of sort of friendship because we both wanted to beat each other at the time. I think there's that mutual respect between us now, and I've been looking forward to seeing Scotty on this stage. He's a top class player.
First
the
leg, it's Scott to throw first. Game
Lakeside
on.
World Champion. And his first start here in the MODUS Super Series. It's Jim McEwen, who on Monday and Tuesday was
60.
possibly a little bit deflated, disappointed, but on Wednesday, wow, did he play good, and his 180 hitting was absolutely sensational.
Here he goes again. Start as you mean to go on, Jim.
180.
You couldn't knit those points together any tighter. And that's a real message to Mitchell, isn't it?
Nico, you got your treble up today. Does his tips first one. Mitchell
60.
to get more 180s than Jim McEwen.
There's a long way to go yet. Long way. And here's the thing about Chucky. He's got this knack of making Saturdays.
59.
And he has won a full week under this roof before. And that kind of experience is invaluable. As far as Mitchell's concerned, he's been looking forward to coming here as a player. But it's very rare
45.
that you have someone gracing the commentary box before they play. But that's going to happen twice tonight, because Matthew Edgar's going to join us in Game 3, and that happened back in week 12 of the first series that we had here with Chris
42.
Mason. And it happened with myself as well. So maybe gracing the chair first before the stage is the way to go these days.
Yeah, you keep looking at me, but yeah, I'd love to be up there. I'd love to get to a stage of my game where I can play, but I'm very
40.
happy sat in the comms box making my thoughts and my assessments. But what I would say about Scott Mitchell, he did not, in my opinion, deserve to lose his Pro Tour card. His scoring was superb, and his interviews have been saying the lack of European qualification was the thing that
84.
hurt him most. And I was talking to him earlier, and his averages were over 93 for the first season, 92 for the full season of 2. And that, they're not the kind of stat you would think, the kind of not being able to keep your card. But
60.
it's a tough skill.
Jim, you require
He
136.
speaks so eloquently to you about it, which we'll hopefully see in a VT later tomorrow.
Lovely switching from Jim.
96.
Who's always going to leave tops and tens if he can. I think that Mitchell knows in this debut match that he's up against it when it comes to Chucky, because he's played 15 games already this week and he's got a lie-in in
60.
the bank. He's not playing early.
Jim, you require
I think
40.
he's a lot more effective when he plays at night.
Dare I say, he's gone under the radar a little bit this week with the Darryl Pilgrim. Yeah, it's his first little disappointment. His double in was really good this week. So I don't think
16.
he'll panic just yet. But when you're playing someone like Scott Mitchell, you want to put the leg to bed. You don't really expect to come back after 18 darts. And Scotty will be setting up nicely here as he warms up to the task.
Setting up nicely
136.
And Kewen, after hitting the 5,
24.
decided to leave double 12. You tend to find that with people who like tops. They don't mind 12s and 6s as well.
Game shot in the
It's
first
in net
leg.
for
Jim
the 1-0
McEwen.
lead. I think the main reason for that, Glenn, is that they like the transition from primary double
Second
to
leg is Jim
secondary
to
double,
throw first.
going
Game
lower
on.
and to the right. So if you think about tops to tens, It's high to right. 12s is the same. High to right.
140.
I think you're actually spot on. I've never really thought of it like that. We talked an awful lot about the transition from 18s to 9s this week, and you know how tough that can be. But yeah, it makes sense.
100.
I was more of a fan of the transition from double 16 to double 8 because it was very similar.
Yeah. There was a stage where I felt I was the best at double 16. I just couldn't miss it. It's a great feeling when you're on an hockey and you're playing well. And I'm sure Jim felt exactly like that on Wednesday because he just looked a different player. And you just feel Scott's just beginning to warm to the task. And here comes the mighty scoring.
140.
Do you think everybody out there who's been watching Scott Mitchell for the last 10 years, maybe even longer than that, do you think they understand how much he's won? Do they think that that World Championship win in 2015 was a fluke? Because, let's face
41.
it, most people don't recognise that he has won a stack of titles. He's won the England Masters twice, the England National Singles twice, the Jersey Open twice. Can you see where I'm going with this?
81.
And I haven't even touched the surface.
Yeah, that Jersey Open was against me. I was desperate to win that one. I think I was interviewed in 2019 and, you know, about that transition from the BDO to the PDC. And they said, who is your toughest opponent?
140.
And I think in most interviews I did, the toughest was Scott. We were seen to be 1 and 2 for a long time, and he had my number for a long time, and it was a good rivalry.
60.
I'm a big fan of Scott Mitchell, and I think as we've got a little bit older,
Jim,
I
you
think that
require
mutual
40.
respect is palpable now. But for Jim McEwen, it's tops for a 2-0 lead, and you want to grab these opportunities about playing maybe Scott just at the right time.
He doesn't have the luxury of busting this now. He's got to go for double 5.
35.
And 3 darts that he wants to put into room 101.
Scott, you require 120.
And how many times have we seen when you've been second best in a leg? And that is actual steam coming out of his ears, you can see there. That's not the smoke machine accidentally working. 62 left. So you look at treble 10. I think we were spoilt this afternoon with lightning quick players. We were highlighting how many minutes it was.
76.
60 seconds
Jim,
for a
you
leg of
require
darts
5.
earlier. This is the type of pace I like.
Going to be double 1. Wasn't very good on the high doubles in the previous visit.
No score.
And he goes back to 5 and gives Mitchell Motown.
Scott, you require 44.
Should be 4 and tops. I don't think he's going to do that. It's going to be 8 for double 18.
Game shot in the second leg. Scott Mitchell.
Well, I can't even finish that sentence. I am so flabbergasted by
Third
that.
leg
I've
is
been
Scott
watching
to throw
Mitchell
first.
for
Game
15
on.
years. I've never seen him go that route, but he knows best. And most importantly, it worked.
Yeah, he's back. He's got the love for the game again. He said he's determined to do a little bit better in the seniors because I won't lie, I thought
100.
he was going to wipe the floor with us all. That was genuine because you looked at the stats as at the back end of his PDC career, and it was as good as anything. They were really great darts, and his scoring power was pretty phenomenal. And I must admit, I thought he was going to come over and just,
43.
clean up on the seniors.
If I may, I'd like to ask you an honest question. When he made his Ali Pali debut against Chris Landman, who's gone on to have some fabulous months very recently.
125.
Do you think that defeat to Landman really hurt Scott?
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, wasn't there a lot of missed doubles, or there was something in that game which I thought that will hurt for a long time.
Yeah, it
60.
didn't go well for Scott, and that was an experience that he couldn't have forecast because he was a massive favourite going into that game. But it just wasn't his day.
Yeah, I remember also was it the UK Open or somewhere Minehead where the crowd really took to him against Van Gerwen. He
82.
He didn't have a lot of luck, He looked very happy at the Pro Tours. He was on a table with Scott Waits and Ross Montgomery. I always sort of seen him with a smile on his face. He was heavily practicing, and I remember marking a couple of times for him in that stage where
45.
the markers weren't getting involved, and I thought he looks as in good nick as ever. It was a surprise to me when he lost his card. I just assumed he would go to Q School and cruise through that. Like I said, I'm a big Scott Mitchell fan. I've been on the end of the Haydens. I know how good he is.
140.
I've played my best and lost to him.
The PDC Tour's loss is our gain because, let's face it, with his reputation, and if he likes playing here, I get the feeling we're going to see him a lot. And he only lives down the road.
54.
He's in Dorset, a beautiful county. And I didn't see him taking the lead at 2-1.
I'm trying to
14.
do the maths there. Can he leave 36 there? He could have done, couldn't he? 18.
We'll watch out to see what he leaves. Not just in this game, but over the next couple of nights. And Chucky may be mystified
85.
by what's happened in the last leg in a bit.
Exactly.
Scott, you require
all them
40.
missed darts at a double has left a hangover in this leg for sure.
Game shot
That's
on
a
the
nice
third
dart,
leg.
isn't it? It's
Yeah,
just so
Scott
well
Mitchell.
punctuated that hit the dartboard with some real oomph.
Yeah, I always say to
Fourth
players,
leg is Jim to throw
when you throw
first.
a dart like that,
Game
that
on.
dart will sing to you. Just listen to the dart go on the board. I think we both nodded in appreciation as that went in. And Jim McEwen, I'll have to show some real fighting qualities now. And this is the Monday Tuesday, Jim.
55.
You and I saw a lot of darts from Benito van der Pas today that went in the board feather-like, quite upright. But if you look at the Mitchell dart when it hits the board, it doesn't move. I know he's using flights that tend to twist a little bit,
85.
but when they go in with real oomph.
Scott's high standards, he won't be delighted with the way he's played here, but to get 2 points, it's just about getting to Saturday. And, I think Jim did catch
41.
Scott at the right time. He could very easily have been 2-0 up. I guess I just feel like Scott's just beginning to go through the gears now, and that's where I like him at. Really good in setting that marker. But he's using, new
45.
darts, new flights. He's getting some designed. He's working on them. So it could be a period of transition. Only he will know that.
Going back just over 3 years, Mitchell had been playing quite a lot of darts
58.
leading up to the start of 2020. He didn't get through Q School, but he went straight to the Challenge Tour and won the second event of the year. And for all of you darts aficionados, you might remember who he beat in the final of his
140.
only Challenge Tour win. It's quite apt, actually, because it was a certain Andrew Gilding. He's gone on to win a major since. It's funny how things can turn.
Yeah, I chatted with Andrew Gilding. I said, where's
100.
the improvement come from? Fascinating to watch him practice, He has the headphones that me and Paul are wearing in comms now. We're even bigger. He's a loner. But, he just goes and just does the most regimental practice routine for a Pro Tour. And basically, what he's doing now, he's putting the yards in. He's putting the real hard work in, and he's reaping the rewards as Andrew Gilding now. He's no longer being lazy, but so regimental in his practice. And I get so many players who all they want to do is hit 180s and 20s.
97.
But he's double bull. And doesn't sort of engage with anyone. He's one of the most improved players in the world is Andrew Gilding.
This game was always going to be very deliberate.
78.
A very patient game.
Jim, you require
And
150.
in a funny sort of way, I think they're both enjoying this game because they're not being rushed. Plenty of players they've been up against. In certain challenges, they may have people who would rather play at a much faster pace.
42.
But Mitchell for 3-1.
Scott, you require
and if
94.
you look at what happened at the end of leg 2, this didn't seem possible.
He's a massive character, this Scott. He's certainly in the video when he walked in the room, he knew
62.
he had. And I thought, when he
Jim,
goes
you
to the
require
PDC, is he going to be
108.
swallowed up by the reputation then? Is he going to change the way he's so deliberate in getting the darts up? But he never did. It's what works for him. And he never changed. I feel this needs to go for Jim.
72.
It's not there. And Mitchell this
Scott,
time
you require 32.
is on 32. He's finding his way around the board. He's been on tops. He's been on double 10. He's been on double 18. Now it's the southwest corner. Geographically, it'll feel a bit more familiar. And he didn't
Game
move
shot on the
back
fourth
there.
leg.
And he
Scott
didn't need to.
Mitchell.
A 3-1 lead for Mitchell. If he does get the win in this game, I'd be fascinated to find out how he was thinking after leg 2.
I don't think
Fifth leg, it's Scott
would
to throw
panic
first.
just yet.
Game
but
on.
I think he knows his game better than, like I said, inside he would know. And I'm sure he's here and he wants to smash some big averages and let players like Darryl Pilgrim know that I'm here. I want to be there
45.
Saturday night and I want to lift that £5 prize because, let's be honest, he is the most decorated player here this week. Lakeside champion, like I said, still in great form. Played for England at the weekend and was man of the match in the game that I watched.
100.
Said he wants to forget the county game against Cleveland last week.
I get the feeling you're not going to forget about it.
No, I didn't actually. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I thought, I mean, I'm out of the county
97.
scene type thing, but I thought that can't be right. He played a guy who Scott would normally beat, I would be confident of saying, but yeah, he said he tried out some new darts. It was just a Dorset had won the game and it just didn't work.
140.
Sometimes you learn more from things that don't work than the things that do. It's the same as when you make a mistake. You learn more from an error or a mistake than you do from succession.
30.
Yeah, success doesn't happen by accident. And that man has worked very, very hard. And to hear him have that desire and love for the game, back playing local league. Sometimes in life, in darting life, you have to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forwards. And his dream is to get back to the
100.
PDC. He's not sort of talking, oh, well, it was great them 2 years, but, I know where my standard is now. He wants to get back with the big boys.
40.
Looks like McEwen will
Jim,
be
you
taking
require
us into leg 6.
161.
Minimum 6 darts from 161. Right here, you'll take a 105 just to leave 56. Where's he going to go with the last dart then?
94.
Well, he snookered himself a bit there, Glenn, because by hitting the single 17, he took the bullseye and the 25 out of the equation, because the last thing he wanted to do was leave himself on a number that he didn't like. Well, 67 is not a bad number.
140.
I think he's going to go treble
Jim, you
9
require
here.
67.
Great shout.
Take the U out. You got great shot.
Game shot
Great
on
shot.
the 5th leg. Jim McEwen.
Great shot, you. 3-2 then. McEwen breaks back.
6th leg
This
is
one
Jim
was
to
always
throw
gonna be
first.
tight.
Game on.
Standard-wise, 76 averages both. I expected more, but then again, that's because they're great players, and we always expect more.
140.
I think I expected more from Jim, and because he was absolutely lethal. 105 averages opening game on yesterday, and he just began to look like the Jim McEwen who has dominated MODUS Super Series at times. and at times looked unbeatable.
140.
For Scott, even playing on the biggest stages in the world, this is his first game at the MODUS Super Series. There'll have been a flutter in his belly, there'll have been a few nerves there. And so I didn't expect too much for Scott, and I think just getting 2 points under your belt,
93.
I think we'll see the best of Scott Mitchell after that. But for Jim McEwen, especially after that first leg, he got the first leg and then missed out at the second one. It was always going to be a tough ask after that.
Just to indicate how strong this group
100.
actually is, there's only one player in this group who has not won a WDF ranked event, and that is Richie Parkin. McEwen has won the British Classic in
134.
2021. That was a marquee win for him. That really got things motoring in the right direction. He won a Challenger event that year. He won one the following year as well. And he's had a barrel load
100.
of success with us.
Jim, you
Winning
require
a Champion of Champions
134.
event last summer, beating Josh Payne and Conor Heenahan and lots of other talents that week. Double 10 for a 134.
124.
Big chance for Mitchell.
Scott,
a very
you
tough
require
chance.
161.
But this is for 4-2 and his first 2 points.
A very traditional way to go for Jim McEwen. We're seeing, look, the modern players go all over the place. So I was surprised to see the old traditional treble 20, treble 18. And for Scott now, just making Jim think about it as he sets up his strategy.
83.
He'll be disappointed with that last dart, but
Jim, you require 10.
just don't see any panic on Scott's face, which is, you know, we've watched a few players today sulking
Game
and
shot
moping.
and the sick flag. Jim
And we felt this could
McEwen.
be a 7-legger, as we spoke off air. But right now, could the fact that Scott is thrown first in
Seventh and
that
final leg. It's
be
Scott
the
to throw
deciding
first.
factor?
Game on.
When you are throwing first in a last leg shootout, you love seeing
99.
your first start going that 60.
Oh, it's great. And then you get the disappointment of the 99. It just means that Jim has to feasibly hit a 140 or at least match the ton. That's a bit of a flyer, that 5.
85.
Advantage Mitchell. I used to think, right, I'm in my local league now, 401, and I've got the darts. That's how I used to treat it from here.
Based on what we've seen in this match, 15 darter and Mitchell walks away with 2
70.
points. Because we haven't seen the same sort of consistency that we would expect from McEwen in this first match of Thursday. But is he about to hit the red button?
140.
There's a bit of body movement and shoulder. They're both feeling it. I think this is a massive 2 points. And even goes as far as whoever wins this game, in my eyes, will then kick on and qualify. That's how much I think's at stake in this game.
55.
Let's put you on the spot then, because we're going to do a lot of that over the next couple of days. Do you see these two qualifying with one other person?
I have to say, I haven't been impressed. You know, as Jim does the commentator's great thing.
140.
It hasn't been an impressive game. It's been tough all round. I mean, Jim's just gone over the 80 average now, so I'd be, you know, I'm happy giving praise and whatever, but I think what I'd be thinking right now, if I was Richie,
59.
Andreas and Matt, well, if these are the two
Jim,
big
you require
heavyweights to play,
136.
they're doing nothing that I can't do. I still think there's a lot more answers to the questions yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. The answer to my question is more questions. Going to be a leave of tops.
96.
It's been such a topsy-turvy game that we didn't expect Mitchell to get a 3-1 lead. And at that point, you didn't expect Jim to be on the first match dart. It's like trying to read a book backwards. It doesn't make
98.
sense.
Jim, you require
But
40.
Chucky wants the points. He wants to join Harrison on 2 points. And double 10 will give him just that.
Messed around on these tops and tens. He hasn't left the dreaded double 5 just yet, but this is a big dart. He just
Game,
moved across
shot,
the hockey, and
and
it's
the
a
match,
big,
Jim
big
McEwen.
win for the Scotsman, Jim McEwen. It was very, very tough. A little bit of a slow burn at the beginning. A real massive 2 points. And for Scott Mitchell, still some more questions to be answered, but I'm sure he enjoyed the experience and will be better for playing on that stage. But for Jim McEwen, he's been there before that 180 early doors, but he'll just be glad to get the 2 points and the tail of the tape. They're not an awful lot between them. 83.54 for Jim. The whole big thing there is 2 points for Jim. He's up and running, and we're going to see for the first time Matthew Edgar against Richie Parkin.
Very warm welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Jim McEwen has got the better of Scott Mitchell in a last leg decider by 4 legs to 3, doing so with an 83.5 average. So it is a debut upon the stage for Matthew Edgar, a man that we've heard a heck of a lot from in the commentary box. But it's time to see whether the darts are going to do the talking here against Richie Parkin, who is looking for his first win of the group, with Paul and Glenn.
Thanks, Henry. Really eager to see what Edgar can do. And he's played a bit in the last few days. We'll talk about that. But the man who's been sitting predominantly in Glenn's chair over the last few months and has done a fine job will now put his reputation on the line up against Richie Parkin in his debut match in Portsmouth. But Richie, who started out in Portsmouth, is now up against someone who played a lot in Southampton.
First leg is Matthew to throw first. Game on.
He's got the darts, and that's a bit of a poison chalice here tonight, because Harrison and McEwen, who have won so far, both did so without the throw.
100.
Yeah, and the honesty from Matt Edgar. I had the luxury of interviewing him earlier. It was a quite emotional interview, to be fair, and we'll be showing that at some point. But he even got a little bit emotional because he played in the Iceland Open on the Friday. And it was, in his words, it was a bit of a disaster. I think he lost second round and texted someone very close to him, someone very important, and just said, "I'm finished." And if there's someone who could resonate, but his voice changed, and and I could resonate with that. I walked out of a game mid-pro tour and 4-1 down, 4-2 down,
62,
and I walked away, and I thought that drive home that day I thought, I'm finished. It's all done. Why has everything happened so quick? And yeah, it was a
97.
I think everyone would expect if I'm going to interview, and it was all going to be fun and games, but, we're good friends, me and Matthew. It's, I have a lot of respect for him. I love talking, the dining, the science of the game, and he's a very, very intelligent person
35.
to speak to. And to see him show that emotion was, it was sort of a setback. So he just doesn't know what's going to happen this week, is the honest truth.
100.
Sometimes a little bit of ignorance is bliss is good. He can go out there and just play. I'm not going to put any extra pressure on him. I know that you're not. And I suppose the one person who might put more pressure on him is himself.
Well, one person who's not putting pressure on him right now is Richie Parkin, because a 1 and a bounce out.
4.
I think the least said about that, like I said, the last time
Matthew
Richie Parkin,
Require,
everything he
104.
did turned to gold.
That'll do. Double 16.
72.
Just misses out on an opening 15 darter.
That would have been a real settler for Matthew. And for Richie, a long way back.
100.
Just isn't quite clicking for Richie
Matthew
so
Require,
far.
32.
Edgar's just trying to pick up the pieces. Nice markers.
16.
And just overthrows that third one, but will return.
But I like the way he reacted there, so there's some expectation there with him. I think he knew he threw all 3 of them darts that well. But like I said, the pressure's not come for Richie, and them angles are Benito-esque.
60. Matthew Require, 16.
Just go a little bit further north, Matt, to double 8.
Game shot in the first
That's
leg.
tidy.
Matthew Edgar.
You always want to win your first leg just to get settled. And he definitely settled at the start of this match better than
Second
Richie.
leg is Richie to throw
who
first. Game on.
Isn't really pushing the panic button here, but he needs something good to happen.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at his throw. He's taking that pull back right under his chin there, and some of the angles it's coming from. I say when you stand behind Richie, it looks so smooth
63.
and effortless. I wouldn't panic too much just yet, Richie. It's show a different side of you now. It's like I said, when things are going against you, you find out more about yourself.
140.
Well, now's your opportunity. You're on the best stage possible. You loved being on there last time. Try and get them memories, that visualization back.
One thing that Edgar has done
92.
over the last 6 or so weeks, whenever he's been here in Portsmouth in a broadcasting capacity,
100.
he's been at our accommodation where there is a dartboard. He's put in the hours, and after a process of testing, he decided that going to the slightly larger flights was his
42.
future. When he was playing at Alexandra Palace against Mike Kuyvenhoven and Mensa Sulevic, he was using kite-shaped translucent flights which were flying a lot faster. These bigger flights, he put them in his darts and he realised, hang on a minute, these are just giving me a little bit more. And in leg 2, he's getting more.
140. Matthew require 121.
He did a fantastic analysis on long flights, short flights, long points. As he looks at the bull.
96.
That was a fascinating
Richie
read. There's not an
require
awful lot of difference,
164.
but yeah, that flight will, compared to a pair or a kite, will enter the board with less speed. But he'd be
95.
absolutely delighted. He's averaging
Matthew
just shy
require
of 95
25.
at the moment. You'd have snapped your hands off for that. Now, Richie
9.
has been second best totally
Richie
throughout this
requires
game.
69.
And what's typical of the MODUS Super Series, from absolute nowhere, you get one chance. That chance is probably going to be a tops. That chance is a tops.
29.
Had
Matthew
Parkin hit
requires
that,
16.
that would have stung Edgar.
Game shot
He
and the
takes
second
advantage
leg.
of the miss
Matthew Edgar.
to take a 2-0 lead.
My assessment on Matthew Edgar is very positive, and if he was hit his doubles, he'd be
Third leg is
averaging
Matthew
well
to throw
over
first.
100.
Game on.
His scoring power, especially after that win at the Iceland Masters. And I think Paul is going to attempt from the last 16
100.
onwards. And it's actually quite good. He's just done it to me, so that was the trial.
Well, first things first, the amount of nations that were represented in the Iceland tournament
58.
over the weekend. Bravo! Players from the United States, the Faroe Islands, the Netherlands, Iceland, of course, England, Sweden.
45.
An incredible international tournament. But Edgar coming through in the last 16 against maybe a person that you've never heard of, but I assure you has got one of the
96.
best pieces of facial hair in sport anywhere. Vitor Manuel Guerra Cachura. Right, just check him
100.
out if you can, because it's a thing of beauty. And he takes out Jan McIntosh of the Faroe Islands in the quarters. Brian Locken, who we know plenty about, from Denmark in the semi-finals. And Bjorn Lejeune from Sweden,
68.
who beat him the previous day. He then beat Bjorn in the final by 5 legs to 3 to get that rather remarkable piece of
100.
Icelandic lava.
He was delighted with the trophy, and he'd done the obligatory photo with the trophy in bed afterwards.
59.
We had a little
Matthew
chat
require
also about
156.
Edgar TV and what he's doing for darts, but right now he's doing himself a big favour with a 156. But he
140.
can lay it up very, very nicely. His scoring power today, he'll be absolutely 9 out of 10. If he can just tidy up his doubles a little bit better. But for Richie Parkin, this could be a long, long night.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it?
21.
Edgar's on double
Matthew
8
requires
for his
16.
third leg. 1 on that double. Pushes the wire. This time he does move and gets
Game
it
shot in the
eventually for a
third
3-0
leg.
lead.
Matthew Edgar.
This is steady from Edgar, and if you consider the level he was playing in Iceland, it was good enough
Fourth
to
leg is
win.
Richie to throw
But
first.
was it a
Game
level
on.
that he's happy with? I don't think so. But at least he's playing better than that tonight.
I was warned not to take any jibes, just to treat this professionally. But I asked him how he was playing in Iceland.
57.
He said he much prefers to play in Asda, but that's enough of my jokes. I promise I'll stay serious, I promise. I've got them all wrote down though, Paul, if you need them.
97.
All jokes aside, on the PGA Tour, there is or was an Open called the Safeway Open. I am being completely serious.
I think some of the best ones is when we did Leonard Gates, some of them
55.
American ones, the Choo Choo Classic and the
Shoot for the moon.
Shoot for the Moon, that was it.
87.
Choo Choo Classic is a great one in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's a fantastic tournament.
Richie is, I mean, I know Richie's game inside out. Many people will watch him at the MODUS Super Series where he couldn't put a foot wrong. He's having an absolute mare.
43.
And boy, do I know what it's like to be on a stage when you know any of your best and you just want the ground to swallow you up. What you've got to remember, this is what he dreams to be at the
100.
MODUS Super Series. He was absolutely buzzing to get the call to come back again. Don't let it be a negative. Remember.
Got to give Edgar a lot of plaudits here. All he's done all game, head down, doing his
97.
thing. Lots of steady scoring. No 180s, but 8-ton pluses, 3-ton 40-plus scores. This is just
60.
hammering away, nice and steady. And all he's doing is being better than his opponent.
He'd be absolutely delighted because Richie Parkin can turn the magic on.
85.
Maybe
Matthew
Matt
require
just got the
157.
right play at the right time. But what a conclusion this would be.
97.
It's a two-darter.
Richie require 164.
Doesn't look like he's going to win all 4 legs on double 8, Glenn. Parkin wants a shot at the bull. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that might have been in
92.
had it not been for the deflection.
Matthew requires 60.
Edgar needs tops and
Game,
wins 2
shot,
points
and the match.
on
Matthew
debut
Edgar.
in Portsmouth. And he wins 4 straight legs. I think he might have enjoyed that a little bit. And why not? 85.89 the average. And his doubles were just shy of 30% in the end. But all you've got to do is be better than the person on the other side of the oche. And Edgar definitely did that. Parkin after 2 matches, he has 0 points. Edgar has 2 and is currently at the top. Andreas Harrison and Scott Mitchell will do battle in Game 4, and that's coming straight after this.
This is the MODUS Super Series. $180.
Available 6 days a week, 50 weeks of the year, the MODUS Super Series. And why don't you be a part of the action on Saturday night? You can be in the crowd. Tickets available via dartshot.tv. Right before the break, we saw Matthew Edgar swap the commentary box for the stage. And, well, he made the transition very good, didn't he? He won 4-0 against Richie Parker and yet to drop a leg here at the Super Series. So, Andreas Harrison and Scott Mitchell meet for their second duels of the session. Harrison winning out 4-2 win against Richie Parker. Mitchell losing to Jim McEwen. In the commentary box, here's Glenn and here's Paul.
Yes, thank you so much, Henry. Yeah, absolutely delighted was Matt Edgar. He just popped his head in at the commentary box there just to remind me he's won 4-0 and I've never won a game here, so... But I'm going to remain the ultimate professional. I'm not going to mention any jokes about him. Interesting game, this one, coming up now, because Scott Mitchell will want to get 2 points. I think the first game was a bit of a... Just get your eye in. Let's see how it goes. He's up against someone there. Honestly, I'm just such the biggest fan of Andreas Harrison, the way he is. And like I say, he can score big, he can finish big, he doesn't give an awful lot away. He's got all the attributes to be here Saturday night, and a nice start today with a very comprehensive and comfortable win over Richie Parkin. But this is a big game for both players. Tough one to decide who wins this.
First leg is Andreas to throw first. Game on.
Harrison will possibly start as a minor favourite in my eyes because he settled a lot easier this evening, winning by 4 legs to 2 against Richie Parkin. 86.5 average with 40% on doubles, not bad. Whereas Mitchell just looked a little unsettled, and he will need to find a little bit more. You just get the feeling that maybe after that first game, he's had a chance to feel what it's like up there in a game environment, and he might settle down now.
Is it fair to say we've seen the same with Martin Grayson today?
100.
He come out like it was just, just rabbit in the headlights, and by the end of the day, he was looking really at home. The problem for Scott, it's only a 5-man group, and you want to get them points on the board as early as you can. But he's been there, got it and done it. He doesn't need us to tell him what the scenarios are. He'll know exactly what to do, but you're not going to get much change out with this guy.
140.
And I bet it's not done yet. There are some great beards in darts right now. Whitlock, obviously. Scott Waits, obviously. And Harrison, as well as
100.
some others that aren't as long
Andreas, you
or
require
coiffured.
121.
Henry Deacon's trying to join, I think. Straight into the one bed there, but another one in the treble 20. That's a little bit sloppy. That first dart was unlucky, and when you're well ahead at that point, just laying up would have been the ideal. And Scott will want to pounce on that.
45.
Just enough to be for Scott right now.
Andreas, you require 95.
Well, it's a 61st. Shooting the 95 as a 3-dart checkout.
63.
And it almost pays off as well.
Scott, you
Seeing that a
require
little bit more these
156.
days. People don't want to have 2 darts at an odd number double. They'd rather have one at an even number double. This double is double 18. And it's a 156 from Mitchell. Talk about a firework going off. I didn't see that coming, but Mitchell has just shown his class.
Scott to throw first.
Hello, Scott. Welcome back.
Sometimes you just need a spark. Sometimes just need a catalyst. Will we be looking back at that moment? That 156, that was absolutely
100.
pitch perfect.
You mentioned in Scott's previous match with Jim McEwen how not qualifying for European Tour events was probably
100.
the biggest reason why he didn't retain his tour privileges in the PDC. Andreas Harrison has played on the European Tour twice. And when he played in the International Darts Open in 2020,
100.
he actually won a game there in round 1 against a certain person who played earlier today.
140.
In Benito van der Pas. It wasn't a good game. They both averaged around 80. But Harrison has won a couple of games on the European Tour. 2020 in
60.
Riesa, in the eastern part of Germany. He went to Gibraltar the following year. He played in the heat, losing out to Danny Noppert, but did beat Keen Barry. That gives you some sort of
100.
indication as to the kind of talent he has shown on the stage before. But one thing I've just dug into is that he's tried to qualify for 25 European Tour events in the past via the Nordic and Baltic route. And he's only qualified for 2 of
Andreas, you
them.
require 161.
You would expect more based on what we've seen recently. Can he get his own back?
93.
Like we said, we're
Scott,
talking
you
about that
require
spark, and
101.
Scott's really beginning to kick in. Ton, 61.40 to leave this 101. Double 12. Outstanding
second
stuff as
leg.
Paul Nicholson
Scott
taps the
Mitchell.
table. Absolutely superb. And sometimes, like you said, you just need that moment. That moment has
Third
arisen
leg
for
is
Scotty
Andreas to
Dog.
throw first.
He's looking
Game
like the
on.
champion we all thought he would do. And maybe he's been inspired by Matthew Edgar.
He's trying to do what Graham Usher did. He wants to win all these legs on tongue plus shots.
85.
30 darts for the first 2 legs for Mitchell. It's not as if Harrison's playing poorly. He's sticking with him, average-wise. He's not far behind him.
Yeah, that 156 is nice, but the fact that Andreas was on 32 just makes it extra nice. Big turning point in this group.
I do think that players should play better
140.
in their second game because they've had that first game of the evening. They should be well in tune with everything they're doing, whether it's practice, whether it's all of the warm-up that they needed to do backstage. There are no excuses anymore.
140.
This is looking very, very nice. But if there's one person who won't panic, it will be the man in your picture. It's going to be very, very tough to do now. But you keep giving it everything. There's only the one break. Scott's just finding that treble with absolute ease now.
And one thing he is doing is he's staying
140.
straight. There was a little bit of deviation in the line in that first match, but he seems to have corrected that. And if he takes out this 1-2-1,
136.
Andreas might
Scott,
have to show some emotion.
121.
He might be disgusted. Watch out. Mitchell's about. Double 14. And I expected him to hit that.
107.
We both did.
Andreas, you require 40.
This is a great game. Marvellous on double 10 this week. Absolutely
Game shot on the third
marvellous.
leg.
That's been
Andreas
his go-to
Harrison.
double. And I thought I'd given him the commentator's curses. Good sportsmanship out there. Taps of the fist, and both players
Fourth leg
being
is
very
Scott to throw
magnanimous and
first.
sportsmanlike.
Game on.
It's played in a good, but you can just see it's very businesslike from Scott Mitchell right now. I think he knows this is an important match for him.
I think he understands that there's
99.
a lot of money on the line over the next couple of days. 5,000 quid. It's a lot of money. Could be best game of the day, this. We have
140.
15 games during the afternoon. We've already had 3 this evening, so match 19 for the day between the 2 international players. Just having a little look at the past
97.
of Andreas Harrison. arguably his greatest achievement. I'd have to ask him. I've never had the privilege of talking to Andreas. But
180.
after that 180, I'm going to speculatively say the biggest achievement in his career came in September of 2018 in Hungary when he won the Europe Cup team event
98.
with his teammates Daniel Larsson, Oscar Lukasiak and Edwin Bjornsson, beating the Netherlands in the final. That is a big, big achievement. And when you consider
60.
the heavyweights in European darts, the Netherlands, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland.
I think Scott would have captained the England game that day, so the England team, so you might remember that a little bit more than...
99.
He was there.
Andreas
Nigel Hayden,
Jacquard,
Paul Hogan,
121.
Dan Day and Scott Mitchell. And they lost in the quarters to the Netherlands, who made the final.
53. Scott Uruguay, 108.
That 99 from Scott has just set this up nice. 108 is many options. The 18, is he going to stay there?
By the look of his body language, it's not in, and that confirms it.
84.
A huge moment in this match
Andreas
coming up.
Uruguay, 68.
These types of finishes are something we've harped on about this week. The double 16. Huge dart.
43.
Advantage, Scott Mitchell.
Scott Uruguay, 24.
Got to take the invite. Double 6. That double has just got a little smaller. Oh,
12.
a double wire shot. And Harrison is very fortunate to be coming back.
Andreas Uruguay, 25.
Always a bad sign for the opponent when that single goes right in the middle.
9.
And maybe he was done by his own equipment there being so tapered towards
Scott
the end.
Uruguay, 12.
Had it been a bit bulkier, it might have bounced it in. Basement time.
You can just feel the tension. It's never a double we like.
9.
And this is un-Scott Mitchell-like and Andreas Harrison, who's been
Andreas
pretty
Uruguay,
solid on his
16.
doubles this week.
It's a very ironic statement when I say someone has thrown
Game
the leg
shot and
away.
the fourth leg. Andreas Harrison.
But it's 2-2. And that might just fire Scotty Dog up a little bit more. He doesn't
Fifth
have the
leg is
advantage
Andreas
of
to
throw
throw
now.
first. Game on.
And he looks a little bit peeved.
Yeah, something. So it seems to have happened or affected him there, but it won't affect the guy in your picture there. I think you could put a brass band behind that guy and he wouldn't be bothered. This is a sign of a champion. When someone hits you with a 180, you don't get feared.
100.
You just stick to your game plan. But right now, the Super Swede is looking super good. Oh, yes.
Where's Swedish darts at right now, apart from 5 perfect darts in, of course? Because the great Magnus Carus has retired. Some of the younger talents have not kicked on. I'm going to leave that with you, Glenn. I'd love to get that angle from you in Game 7 when Andreas plays against Jim McEwen for the 4th time this week, because I'm really interested to see where Swedish darts goes from here.
Yes, I'm a former Sweden Open champion in the year after. I lost to the man in your picture here.
100.
It's a country that love the dart, and what I really like is the attitude about the Scandinavians. They don't give an awful lot away, but I thought maybe Oscar would have kicked on a little bit more, and Daniel Larsson
60.
has other interests as well as darts.
Andreas Uruguay,
looks like the
81.
supermarkets at the, so you're probably just waiting for that real big name to come out. Right now, he has to think. I can't imagine him laying up when you're playing someone like Scott Mitchell, so it will be the bull. And that
Game
is
shot and the fifth
absolutely
leg.
out the
Andreas
top
Harrison.
draw. He realised he's playing Scott Mitchell, and what you can't do then is not leave a double. So
Sixth
there
leg
was no
is
thinking,
Scott to
just
throw
stayed
first.
big with a big
Game on.
16. And that bullseye was plumb. just when you thought Scott Mitchell was running away with this, those missed doubles is beginning to hurt.
100.
You aren't joking, that's for sure. At 2-0 with 2-ton-plus checkouts, you thought Mitchell was starting to cook.
Yeah, when I think of Sweden darts ball, I think of the whole
100.
Nordic region. I mean, it's the Denmark Open this week, another 250 men for the Denmark. And that was one of the best crowds I ever played in front of. I loved going to the Denmark Open. The treat us absolutely fantastically well.
60.
You know, Finland, Norway, and you know, we saw the video with Matt at Iceland this week. But like you said, we just need that real superstar to come out of Scandinavia. And you feel like it's coming.
180.
As far as 180s are concerned, Harrison is no slouch. He's got 3 and an average nearly of 102. This is fast becoming
60.
one of the best performances of the entire week.
Didn't panic, did he? Scott was lightning in them first 2 legs. Didn't panic. I'm sorry for repeating myself, I
43.
know. But it's just the attributes, the kind of thing. There's no shaking of the head that we've seen with some players this week. There's no sulking, waving your arms when you hit a big number. He just gets on with it. Doesn't show any emotion. It's a fantastic thing to have.
85.
I just get the feeling that if Mitchell does lose this game, what he needs to happen before he returns are for things to bunch up. Now, he does play Richie Parkin in
140.
Game 6. He's playing better than Richie so far tonight, but it could be a battle between 2 players who don't have points yet.
Yeah, I think he'd be delighted he hasn't got Matt Edgar next. I think Richie's
60.
got his own problems. But right now,
Andreas, you
it's
require
all about
38.
the Super Swede. You might think it was a turn-up for the Bucks. Sorry. Big dart.
No score.
I did expect him to sort of maybe
Scott,
go
you
down the
require
6-double-6 thing with
136.
Scotty being on the 136.
Don't be sorry about that joke, by the way. That was a corker. And he looks like he's disturbed once again. Harrison's already missed 3 darts at double 19 to get the win. Let's find out if he stays on the
85.
double 19 or whether he decides
Andreas,
to
you
switch
require 38.
to a split option. It's going to be the split option this time. So it's double 16 for the win.
22.
Not quite. And Mitchell is living a charmed
Scott, you require
existence here in leg
51.
6.
Yeah, he's not very happy with himself, Scott. Now it's about focus. He'd be surprised he's got this chance after the 6 missed darts at a double. But a chance he has. Massive dart in the whole context of this group.
19.
And once again, like the double 6, he just whacks that wire.
Andreas, you require
And the
16.
frustration is evident.
Double 4. He's been all around the board to try and
8.
win this match. He's been on double 19, double 16,
Scott, you
double
require
8,
32.
double 4. That's 4 different doubles in the same leg. He might
Game
need a
shot on the
different double if he
leg.
gets it.
Scott
if
Mitchell.
he gets it, because we go to a 7th leg for the 2nd time tonight. And the 2nd time we go to the final leg
Andreas to throw
involving
first. Game
Scott
on.
Mitchell as well.
Yeah, by hook or by crook, this match has got to 3-3. Didn't expect the Swede to miss the dart at the double. He hasn't been affected too
100.
much. He started off with a solid ton. Now Scott Mitchell will be thinking, I'm going to try and whack you in 12.
I make it 8 mismatched darts.
100.
3 at double 19, 3 in the bottom left corner, and then obviously the 2 up at double 4 as well.
What I would say, though, he's definitely sped up as well as Andres.
100.
What I would say, and that 8 missed dart at double might affect a lot of players. For Dirty Harrison, maybe not.
100.
Turning down, this is a very professional last leg. What Scott wants is for him to be not doing that.
140.
That means Scott has just got to keep pace. And the pressure is firmly on his shoulders right here. He can't get to a finish.
100.
So if Harrison does leave the bull this time,
Andreas, you require
he doesn't have to go for it.
161.
What a stonking last start there from Mitchell, look. He even acknowledged it himself just to give him an outside chance. I'd use the bull here.
100.
And that's why Andres is up there and I'm in the comms box.
I don't know how he got that in, actually. We've seen some great last dart shooting here in the final leg.
60.
Mitchell can't get to 101. So it's
Andreas, you
Harrison for
require
61 for 4 points and 2 games undefeated here on Thursday night. That's not a bad result because 44 with 2 will feel very gettable to pinch the game here in leg 7.
Yes, in a match that's at absolutely everything.
29.
The trend of missed darts to win the game.
Scott, you require
And that's about the
141.
most you're going to get from Dirty Harrison there. That little shake of the head. What a conclusion this finish would be. And all he can do. And there's the Rice man. I think he fancied that, Paul.
I think he was trying to bookend the game. Started with a 156. Then try to end it on the 141.
133.
He's praying that Harrison
Andreas,
has a
you require
nightmare
32.
on double 16. He's already missed 9 match darts.
Game. Shot.
But
And
it's
the
not
match,
double
Andreas
digits.
Harrison.
And Mitchell does suffer defeat for the 2nd time this evening. He's still got 2 games to go, and he will face Richie Parkin a little bit later on, and he does have a game against Matthew Edgar in game 8. But for now, it's a better performance from Scott, but ultimately not good enough to take out one of the top Swedes in darts. When we come back, we'll see Matthew Edgar once again, and he's up against Jim McEwen.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. And before the break, Andreas Harrison got the better of Scott Mitchell in a last leg decider. Is that beginning to become the story for Scott Mitchell? 2 games played, 2 last leg deciders come the other side of. So Harrison the victor there. Next up for us, Matthew Edgar, who got off to the perfect start at the Super Series, beating Richie Parkin 4-0. He takes on Jim McEwen, as watched by Paul Nicholson and Glenn Durrant.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, it's 2-4-3 defeats there for Scott. He'll be working on for Andreas. It's 2 from 2, but you could argue the player so far is the man in your picture there, Matt Edgar. Last Saturday, he was just in a total despair, even thinking maybe he's never going to be winning dart matches again. 24 hours later, he's on a real high. Come to Super Series, not expecting too much, but a fabulous 4-0 victory, which will settle any nerves, any concerns. But the challenge is just raised up a notch against the wounded Jim McEwen.
First leg is Jim to
through
throw
a real
first.
battle with
Game
Scott
on.
Mitchell, so he'll feel very hardened. He's got the 2 points under his belt. Are we going to see the magic from Jim McEwen, which we've seen many, many times here at the MODUS Super Series, or will the trend of Matt Edgar continue to be on the rise?
59.
Let's find out. And before we get too deep into this one, I've got a sliding doors question for you, Glenn. You remember the
60.
match between Neil Duff and Jim McEwen at the Lakeside
Wow.
last year? McEwen was 3-0 up and lost. Do you think that if McEwen had won that game, that his career would have taken a
83.
severely different path?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because the expectation of being the Lakeside champion, the WDF champion,
100.
just taken in various directions. I went down the exhibition route, but what Jim did was he just got back on the horse and started working hard, and he had that season after that where he was so good at the MODUS Super Series, so good at the Challenge Tours. He was even getting invited to the Pro
137.
Tours, the Players Championships. He had an amazing season after that Lakeside defeat, and I don't think he's, speaking of Jim, he doesn't look back.
97.
He has the frustrations that he feels he would have. He was the best player in the competition that year. But yeah, it's interesting of what if, maybes, but it was Neil Duff that came through in that epic game.
I don't think we should ever forget as
98.
well, when he played New Zealand's Landon Gardner, in the last 48 of that tournament, he averaged over 100 on the Lakeside stage, and
140.
that does not happen.
Jimmy require
very often.
124.
Yeah, the first game I ever commentated was with Richard Veenstra at Lakeside in that same competition. And I think he broke all the records going.
He did. 2 of the best ever averages on the Lakeside stage in last year's tournament. One from
42.
Andy Barnes, and the other
Matthew
from
Require,
Veenstra, which
104.
broke the record, which had stood for 2 decades.
Yeah, there is a big flight that Edgar's using there,
96.
isn't it? It seems to be flying nicely.
Jimmy require
Ton
82.
97, 140, and this 82 you feel has to go. So we're looking at the bull. And then it's a fat 17. With that 1 dart at tops. How's your luck, Jim?
42.
It bends the wire, so it's advantage
Matthew
Edgar.
require 8.
And more importantly, this would be a break, a throw.
Game
Really
shot
well
on the
hit.
first leg. Matthew Edgar.
And he hasn't lost a leg tonight so far, so his confidence is starting to swell.
Yes, all the banter, all the jokes
Second
I
leg
had
is
are
Matthew to
slowly
throw
sliding
first.
to go in the
Game
bin.
on.
You saw that video on his YouTube channel, right? Where he was on the water and it was rather choppy.
100.
I was getting visions of years ago when I was in Australia with our commentary colleague Chris Murphy. I get the feeling that Matthew Edgar and Chris Murphy are not going to form part of the MODUS Super Series sailing team. Not fans of the water.
140.
I actually went green from Lancashire. Was it what's the Lancashire over to Isle of Man? Wow. I literally went green.
100.
I remember playing Crash, the card game, and it was really choppy. I could see people moving, and then all of a sudden it hit me. It's a terrible feeling, seasickness. But I would say about that video, it's just, people will ask questions. Oh, yeah, but you'd go... But just to sort of see what it's like as Jim McEwen.
180.
It's a max, just to sort of see what it's like to go to these big opens. I think it's a it's really good what Matt's doing and just gives people an insight
131.
exactly how the weekend goes.
If you are going to go into choppy waters, Glenn, I would advise you to find a more buoyant card game than Crash. Maybe find something called Float or Cruise.
Yeah, good point.
57.
Some of the photos from Isle of Man this
Matthew
year,
Require,
wow.
170.
It didn't go this time. Oh, and I'm praying this doesn't go because the Gary Anderson will come out. Did you know he hit a 170 against Gary
85.
Anderson?
I've never heard the like.
I think he has a little
Jimmy Require,
smile there. I think he can hear my
124.
commentary.
One of these days, he's going to do it again. Treble 18. We'll leave the bullseye for Jim. Chance for Edgar to get a 6th straight leg tonight.
56.
He's going to feel quite
Matthew Require,
impervious.
85.
If this goes, it's a famous shot, this. That one's
40.
over the top.
That was more
Jimmy
over the top than
Require,
Dean
68.
Stanley's nickname. Stay straight on the 68. Perfection. 2-darter double for. He doesn't even look like missing, to be fair.
Game shot and the second leg.
Absolutely solid
Jim
as a rock.
McEwen.
There was just something in his eyes there. The glint opened as Matt Edgar missed that bull.
Third leg is Jim
And
to
that
throw
was
first.
clinical. And
Game
that's
on.
the first leg that Matt Edgar's lost. And you can see the minor frustration there because the biggest challenge when you're playing someone like Jim McEwen, he dictates the pace. Your biggest challenge is that you've got an awful lot of time to stand there and think and strategize and overthink.
87.
So the biggest challenge you've got right now is while you're there for your 5 or 6 seconds to maximise your numbers.
You're
Looks
not going
good,
to
Paul.
you're not going to win every leg.
100.
And Matt understands this, but the start he's had has been really good. If you miss one shot at the bull and you lose the leg, you think, that's okay. I gave it a good shot at the hardest target on the board. Ultimately,
100.
I just didn't come up trumps. This is a good start to their second game of the night. What I will say,
100.
technically, because he has had injury problems in the last 12 months, Edgar technically looks almost identical to the last time I saw him play live.
Yeah, it's as if you're reading my notes there. It's exactly
16.
what I've wrote down to maybe chat with him after that. I can't see. He's not practicing in the back room as much as he would normally. He would get in a venue with Ryan
97.
Searle, and from 10 o'clock to when the first match started, he was just non-stop on there, and I was like, how can you do that? I mean, one of his best videos, he even done a video on which professional player goes to the toilet the most. 'Cause where he practiced at
140.
Barnsley, right where the entrance doors are. And guess who won with 17 times? 17 times going to the toilet.
100. Jimmy Require, 114.
I don't know.
Glenn Durrant, the only thing I won in 2021.
That's a great second dart from Jim. He
74.
hasn't quite clicked on tops yet.
Matthew
Yeah,
Require,
tonight.
104.
Edgar for 104. Needs the 54. And gets it.
72.
Oh, it's agonising. I think you can tell that he wants this.
I'm loving
Jimmy
his
Require,
responses.
40.
Will Jim fix it? He needs 3 darter tops.
Game shot and the third leg.
How
Jim
good was that
McEwen.
dart at double top? That was so central.
There's plenty of oohs and ahs out there, and
Fourth
I
leg is
absolutely
Matthew to
love
throw
that.
first.
The fact that it
Game
means
on.
so much to Matt, and he's got that competitive spirit about him. All I wanted to be again is to be competitive. There's the hint of jealousy that
100.
he's up there doing it from me because I never wanted to be a world champion again. I never wanted to be in the top 8 no more. I would just love to be competitive, and I think that's the way Matt's feeling after that horrible feeling he had last Saturday when he thought, "Will I play? Will I
100.
ever win a game?" And here he is now challenging and just wiring the bull and double 16 to be leading this game. He should be proud of himself.
57.
I'm just trying to make head nor tail of whether I like this new shirt that Jim's got. There's a lot going on. Honestly, it's like looking at a Picasso and trying to make sense of it.
100.
As I speak, I've actually got my head tilted, trying to figure out what's going on with it.
And it comes in various colours.
60.
Really? I don't want to speculate as to the colour scheme of anything when it comes to a Scottish dart player, because sometimes it's football inspired. I don't want to go down that route.
180.
Rule number 1 of sports commentary: do not go down the Scottish football route unless it's absolutely necessary.
45.
Unless it's
Jim,
about
you require
Stranraer,
121.
my favourite team in Scotland.
That's random.
Treble 20 is not random for Jim here on this 1-2-1. That's the way that the players prefer to go now. But he lays it up
65.
very nicely. Jim McEwen is just showing signs, quietly but effectively getting on with the job. The headlines have been Matthew Edgar. The headlines have been Scott Mitchell.
96.
And Jim is just quietly
Jim,
in the
you require
background.
56.
And 2 darts at tops here. We'll give him a 3-1 lead. Perfect marker, Paul.
This has got to go in.
36.
Under pitches it, and you can see
Matthew
that he's
require
annoyed.
143.
He's got every right to feel that way.
See the aggression with Matt.
59. Jim, you require 20.
Double 10. Just work your way in from the right to the left.
Game shot
Just
and
like
fourth
that.
leg. Jim
Perfectly
McEwen.
pitched in a 3-1 lead. And after leading the majority of his game
Fifth leg is Jim to
against
throw
Scott
first.
Mitchell,
Game on.
he will feel like he's able to just craft wins tonight, whether it's domination or not. He's someone who has a remarkable amount of patience.
Yeah, what a fabulous
47.
word. Yeah, and like I said, there's different challenges when people say, "Oh, Glenn, you were slow. Glenn, you were deliberate." And I just said, "Look, it's not. It's not on purpose the way I throw a dart,
131.
and you have to deal with that. It's just a different challenge. We were spoiled today. It was speed. Some of these games are just like a different way of. And Jim is a little bit slower than most players, but look at that. It's still effective.
180.
3 maxes against Edgar, who hasn't got one tonight so far. But I don't think his game
100.
is built around 180s. It's about steady scoring and good finishing.
His rhythm looks good right now, Jim. Just look at the eyes. It's when you can tell he's hit 4 180s so many times this week in a match.
180.
And he reminded me, when Does' tips come up, he went, "Hey, how come you've got Scott Mitchell to get more 180s? I've done it 4 times this week."
100.
And he was spot a
Jim, you
96
require
average
94.
for a big victory, and to go on 4 points and very early in this group. He's looking very, very good for Saturday night.
Double 8. That
Game,
is such
shot,
a good performance.
And the match, Jim
A
McEwen.
96 average is what he got. But ultimately, I think Matthew Edgar has to realise that maybe Jim McEwen is the man to beat in this group. He's showing the best darts we've seen all day long, consistently, and he has not lost since Tuesday now. That's 44% on the doubles, and his best leg of the match came to get that 5th leg. A really good performance. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have Henry and Glenn on the balcony to see how things have gone in the first half of Thursday night.
A very warm welcome back to the live lounge here in Portsmouth. 5 games down, so it's a good time to get the half-time assessment of Glendowen up here on the balcony. Let's begin by having a look at the results in order. We can have a look at that on the screen now. Began with a victory for Andreas Harrison. Now, I think the standout so far tonight is Jim McEwen. Him and Andreas Harrison both winning both of their matches.
Yeah, and what's interesting there is Jim McEwen and Andreas have played all week, and it's that conversation that we have. Is it best to come in fresh? Is it best to have the 3 days behind you? And in this occasion, Jim and Andreas have looked really good, really comfortable, and both of them will be feeling rather good at half-time.
Matthew Edgar, well, that was some start to Super Series life, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I say, he's had a really tough time. And like I said, I had a very emotional interview with him earlier where, I mean, just over a week ago, he thought that was the end, he was finished. And then, 24 hours later, things are going well. And that opening 4-0 victory for him. He's competitive again. I don't think I would set the bar too high for himself. And he should be really pleased with himself.
As for Scott Mitchell, I think very quickly he's learned about the fine margins of the Super Series. 2-4-3 defeats.
Yeah, played 2 and both gone the 7 legs. I mean, he won't panic. He's a world champion for a reason. He knows what the situation. He's probably got the right person to play now, because you do feel this is a must-win for both players already. So that might be the one to spark him. Richie Parkin, I know inside out, and Richie Parkin's having a real mare tonight, but he can turn it on. Richie Parkin wants to average 116 in Q School, so the game's there. Last time he was here, he was tremendous. This is a big, big game coming up.
Do both players almost have to treat this as a semi-knockout clash?
Well, I would. I mean, statistically, if you lose 3 in Group B, it's a tough ask. You probably need to go unbeaten and still need other results to go your way. I would treat it now as a must-win situation.
Shall we get it on?
Let's do it.
Let's get it on, Glenn. Right, let's get into Game 6 of our evening. It sees Richie Parkin in action up against Scott Mitchell. He's going to make the run down to the box to join Paul Nicholson. Paul.
Thanks very much. And a change of strip for the second half here for Richie Parkin. Let's see if yellow can be his colour. And he's up against the pink. And in snooker terms, that's 2 points up against 6. Well, here's the thing, Scott. You can't get 6 points for tonight because you've only got 2 games left. So if you can muster up 4, you'll be very happy. I suppose if Richie was to walk away with 2 points tonight, that wouldn't be a disaster, because you have to be in the top 3 to be able to qualify through this group here on Thursday and Friday night. Still a long way to go. But like Henry mentioned, a semi-knockout style game here, because whoever loses it will be rooted to the bottom of the table, with plenty of people having a better time of it. So far, Mitchell losing 4-3 twice. Once to McEwen and once to Harrison. But they are the most experienced players this week in this group.
First leg, it's Richie to throw first. Game on.
Maybe something as trivial as a change of shirt can change your fortunes. Sometimes players, when they play in certain environments, just don't feel comfortable.
16.
And having the semi-audacity to go out there and just change things up, it could change a lot.
In the nicest possible way, Richie Parkin is one of them scruffs, in a sense that you don't often see him in a dart shirt.
100.
So whether there was an issue with, his logos, etc., or he just was a little bit tight for him or something, but whenever you see Richie Parkin sort of locally, this is when he's at his most comfortable with just a polo shirt on.
45.
Funnily enough, former world champion Jelle Klaassen, who will be part of Champions Week next week, he doesn't like playing in really hot conditions.
100.
And at times has disliked his own dart shirt so much that he reverted to a polo shirt just like this, made of piqué cotton, which is semi-breathable. Now, if you are not aware and you're
41.
just joining us here this evening and you do not know who's part of the Champions Week next week, let me enlighten you. Because we have John Worsley of Wales, Owen Bates of England,
100.
Jelle Klaassen won week 3, Scott Taylor from England, Mike Warburton, representing Wales fabulously in week 5. Matt Clark, Steve West, and
92.
Justin Hood, all of England. Then a German in Lucas Wenig, Luke Littler, and Mike Gillett. So lots of English and Welsh representation, which tells you a
105.
lot about the strength of the second tier of players at the minute.
Yeah, and it's just getting better and better, Paul. We've had a lengthy discussion. It's great spending time with you and, just chatting all things darts.
99.
But next week's just beginning to get
Scott,
excited.
you
There's
require
something about
96.
Champions Week. 20 grand up for grabs, it's not to be sneezed at. And for someone like Scott Mitchell, as he looks at double 8, it could be a
80.
case of 5 grand this week and 20 next. I mean,
Richie
that is not
Require,
bad
164.
whatsoever for any amateur player out there. Richie Parker, it's just all gone a bit rubbish today. I can't. He'll be so frustrated because just getting
41.
messages off some of his friends, the
Scott,
mark
you
for him
require
last week
16.
were in 6 or 7 visits to the board. You get 5
Game shot on the
180s, but
first leg.
he's
Scott
not
Mitchell.
demonstrating that. And if there's one person who'll put you to sword if you're not playing at your best, it's Scott Mitchell, especially a Scott Mitchell who's
Second
now
leg is Scott
looking
to throw
at
first.
played
Game on.
4-1-2. That's an absolute minimum for him now. Interesting if someone comes third in Group B, because that's exactly where Mike Gillett finished last
100.
week. And look what happened to him. It's about peaking, Paul, on Saturday night.
3 words. Just get there. Then you focus on Saturday.
140.
You do not want to be on the road home, or maybe at the airport in the case of someone like Andreas Harrison. You want to be sticking around, looking forward to a nice lie-in on Saturday
140.
morning, getting yourself ready for an assault at that £5,000 for Week 12. And Week 12 winners, they've been pretty useful in the last couple of series.
180.
That's a little bit of better darting from Richie Park, and this is a better leg. Week 12, in the last 2 series, won by 2 very good friends of the
140.
MODUS Super Series, Chris Mason and John Henderson.
I guess you've seen everyone play this
45.
week now, Paul.
Scott, you require
Who do you fancy for
121.
Saturday night?
I'm not going away from Pilgrim at the minute.
Yeah.
Mr. Reliable. Bullseye.
91.
And anyone would be a fool
Richie
to write
Require,
that man off.
136.
For Richie Park, and he needs something like the 156 Scott Mitchell had in the last game, but this is going to hurt Richie because I know how happy he was
44.
to be here. And much
Scott,
he
you
loved to
require
be here
30.
last time. It just hasn't gone his way at all. Second best in this match.
Somewhat defensive shot at double 15
Game
with
shot
the
on the
first one,
second
but
leg.
the second one,
Scott Mitchell.
much better. This is really tidy from Mitchell, averaging 100 after the first couple of legs. But
Third
getting a
leg is Richie
lead
to throw first.
hasn't been a
Game
problem
on.
tonight. It's been keeping the lead that has been the issue. He was 3-1 up against Jim McEwen. Now,
60.
can he get the job done this time?
Yeah, I think what happens all of a sudden, if Richie Park sort of is getting detached from the rest of the group, and 4 players are then fighting for 3 places, doesn't it bunch up the
99.
scoring from there? So Richie Parkin could play the role of the spoiler.
Here's the thing, it doesn't get any easier for Richie. He's got Jim McEwen in his last game.
100.
Good point. He looks like the main man right now, doesn't it? It's interesting. We have a lot of conversations. Is it best to come in these matches in Group B and see fresh, or be with 3 days behind you?
100.
My thoughts were the older you are, you want to come into Group B. Some of these younger players like the Owen Bater, Luke Littlers, they can play for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, every day.
Just remember, if you are having a little bit of a flutter this
85.
evening, late on Thursday, going into the early hours of Friday, remember to gamble responsibly. It's over 18s only, and begambleaware.org for more information. Mitchell doing the right thing on 302.
138.
That is so beautiful when it's done properly. Everything there, apart from maybe hitting a 174, That was so well done. 18's first,
44.
correct. Going back to the
Scott
60.
Iroquois, 164.
Well done. Hitting them both, triple well done.
4-0 victory would be really nice for his leg difference as well. So looking very good for a 3-0 lead. And that treble 19 just cements that. For Richie Parkin, it's just been a very, very tough night. It's tough to watch. I've had to sit and watch Jamie Durrant all week, and one of my other good friends.
80.
And when things are down, them sort of things happen to you.
Scott Iroquois, 86.
So true. He's going to respect him.
Is he?
I think.
Is he?
Yeah. He's going to go bull. He's getting closer.
61. Richie Iroquois, 132.
Yeah, Richie seemed to be looping. He's always thrown a very long dart.
That is a wicked deflection. I think he threw that quite well. But it's caught a lot of flight on the way through.
120. Scott Iroquois, 25.
He has not had a shot at a double this whole match, Richie Parkin. And he's
Game
not going to get a
in the
shot in like
third
3
leg.
either.
Scott Mitchell.
This could be a complete shutout for Mitchell.
For Richie Parkin to get here, it's about 5 hours. 5.5 hours.
Fourth leg, it's Scott to throw
He
first.
made a decision
Game
because
on.
it was his daughter's birthday yesterday. It travelled down today. I didn't want to say anything because the priority would be for anyone to go to the daughter's birthday. Totally understand that.
140.
But having travelling down today, maybe not getting we talked about rest being so important. I'm just trying to put a defence out there of why Richie is averaging the 70s and 80s, because
42.
he has been playing closer to 90, 100 averages, and I just think maybe travelling that distance today has caught up. That's the only defence I can come up with of why he's playing so bad tonight.
140.
That's for Mitchell. He can get to Portsmouth in about 90 minutes. That's nothing for him.
Yeah, I bumped into him as he was coming out of his hotel.
140.
Yeah, one thing about Scotty Dog, he won't panic. He won't be happy. When I went into the room there, he wouldn't have thought he's played 2 lost, though. I think he probably knows of games he could have, should have won.
85.
And he can run through the card now. He can win his final 2 games today. It'll be an interesting game with Matt Edgar, but I'd still give the fact that Scott is so match sharp compared to Matt.
Are we going to call
97.
Mitchell versus Edgar the
Scott
commentator
Iroquois,
derby?
136.
Yeah, it's a game we've been looking forward to. What an ending this would be. The double 8 for a sensational
shot, and the
4-0
match,
whitewash
Scott
victory.
Mitchell.
That's the Scotty Dog we know and love. And that was uber impressive. Tail of the tape, just absolutely staggering numbers there. 101.90 average. He looks at that, he nods in appreciation. 50% on the checkout. That 136 to complement that 156 in the previous game. Excellent, superb darts from Scott Mitchell. He's finally up and running. And what a top of the table clash we have coming next. One not to miss. It's Andreas Harrison versus Jim McEwen.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. What a performance that was from Scott Mitchell. 4-0 win, average just under 102 as well. Well, he's played well over the course of the evening and he's finally got the 2 points that his performances deserve. Well, next up for us is Andreas Harrison up against Jim McEwen, and this is going to be watched in the company of Glenn and Paul.
Thank you so much, Henry. And the battle of the unbeaten players. And you get the feeling whoever wins this game will have 1 foot into Saturday night's finals. Jim McEwen, for me, has been the player of the night, looking really solid against the unflappable Andreas Harrison. Just seems to get better and better. I've got a funny feeling my fellow co-commentator Paul Nixon's really enjoyed watching Andreas.
Just a little bit. He really doesn't give you much, does he? I wouldn't want to play chess against him, or poker, or anything for that matter.
Yeah, it's a massive strength, and I just hope some of the players who have given things away this week are looking at that. These are areas of your game where you can improve. He's just so focused, doesn't give an awful lot, and just remains positive despite what the outcomes are.
I think Scott Mitchell is very happy with the outcome of the previous match.
First leg is Andreas
And it
to throw
leads me
first. Game on.
To something that I just found out about Andreas. His highest recorded average, I have found out, was against Franz Roach, who was here last week.
140.
It wasn't last week. But it was at Q School, where he averaged 101.9, which is exactly what Scott Mitchell's just done. So maybe that's a sign that both guys might qualify.
140.
Jim wouldn't care one jot about that as long as he's the other one.
100.
I've got the most fantastic website where we're able to chuck in every stat of every player.
100.
And we're just having a chat when Andreas Harrison beat me in the Sweden Open. But what I didn't realise is I don't think I've ever looked at my page. And then it says under extra information, has had Bell's palsy since 2004. That's tickled me, that. Anyway.
Always get your information checked.
59. Andreas, you require 121.
Strong start from Andreas, leaving 1-2-1 after 9. That's a very preferable situation when your opponent is not on a finish. This is a bit scruffy, though.
80.
All of a sudden, all is well because of that last dart.
Yeah, he was a bit scruffy on a 1-2-1 before. He's doing everything right by going for the bull because Jim McEwen's on 2-0-2. But his sort of set-up play let him down before.
140.
That treble 20 still makes him a big favourite. But
41.
that 140 from Jim will make this 41 just a little bit more difficult. 2 darts, a double
Game shot in
16,
the
but it's
first
only
leg.
the one once
Andreas
again.
Harrison.
And the Super Swede continues to be Mr. Consistent right now. And this is a real battle of the unbeaten players.
Second
to go
leg is
on
Jim to
play
throw
3-1-3.
Game on.
Sometimes you feel you're just on a free roll then in your last game.
Somebody's getting better game by game, and that is the Swede. 86 winning average in his first
95.
match. 92 winning average in the next. And he started very strong here. He will finish up against Matthew Edgar in game 10 in the early hours of Friday.
81.
I remember the first time I saw Andreas play, and it was in a BDO World Championship, and that beard was merely a tuft. He's gone from having
50.
Augusta National Fairway beard to US Open rough beard.
Yeah, mate, it took him about 10 years, where it took about Scott Waits about 10 weeks to get his beard.
48.
I think I would have to be in the same sort of position as Tom Hanks in Castaway to get a beard like that. And even then, I think I would use an ice skate to shave.
96.
This is really good proof as well that even when
134.
you're possibly around the halfway point in life, your darts career could just be beginning. All of the times that we see headlines about kids winning big tournaments. Luke Littler is part of our Champions Week next week. He can't even buy a
60.
lottery ticket. But it's great. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But I like the fact that some of the more experienced people coming here are still having
100.
success. And they can benefit from the riches in the sport. Not just the younger people.
Yeah, myself and Paul have talked about pathways and, from local league to Super League to county to play for your country to the BDO.
100.
That's probably our only route
Andreas
when I was
Ruquan with
sort of trying to get
138.
through the ranks, but right now there's just so many opportunities. Dart is booming. Andreas Harrison's booming. Especially if this double 12 goes in.
126.
He's already hit one of those this week, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think when that let go,
Jim Uruguay 100.
you probably thought that was close. But for a tops player like Jim McEwen is, this 100. So options, and I think he's going to go 2 tops. Makes sense the way that first dart, and that is plumb.
80.
Oh, Jim. The one thing you don't want to do is
Andreas
underpitch it.
Uruguay 12.
Yeah, one thing about Jim we've noticed this week, you can tell if the double's in.
Game
Just
shot in the
close your eyes,
second leg.
Andreas.
Andreas
You
Harrison.
get the feeling he doesn't even know what Jim went for there. He's just in his own world, just totally focused. And goes
Third leg
back
is
and
Andreas
he
to throw
continues
first.
to impress.
Game on.
I don't know what your experience is of Scandinavian dart players, Glenn, but it may be something similar to mine. I've had about as much in the way
45.
of dialogue from Scandinavian dart players as I would get from my own pets at home.
Every time,
And I've only got fish.
every time I work through that players area, he's staring me out.
57.
Yeah, I would probably leave the practice room quite quickly. He's quite a menacing looking person.
Yeah, I'm like, gooey. One of the funniest things was, we go to the quiz on a Monday night with the team, and
140.
one night when we were last here, Andreas just come and sat next to us. Didn't even realise what pub we were in, and he just sat there.
That's nice.
And every question he said, he just went, ABBA. ABBA.
85.
Yeah, Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish dart players. Not necessarily as garrulous as some potential Brits like Richard North.
140.
Talk a glass eye to sleep. But Jarkko Komila from Finland. Marco Kantala from Finland. Maybe Magnus Karras is
60.
one of the most chatty Swedish players I've ever met.
Yeah, Jarkko Komila was, what a player he was, and just gave nothing away. I remember playing him in the World Masters in a big checkout. That's when I thought I could go on and do really well
136.
when you're getting past someone like Jarkko. He was tremendous. I think his nickname was Smiler, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was a somewhat ironic nickname.
I think there was another one called Pusa.
Marco Pusa.
133.
Yeah.
Andreas, you require 40.
This is terrific stuff, because the main man from Sweden right now, the man in your picture.
Game shot in the third leg.
3-0, a big
Andreas Harrison.
3-0 lead right now against the also-impressive Jim McEwen. Well, Jim McEwen did come from 3-1 down in his
Fourth leg
previous
is Jim
game
to
against
throw
Scott
first.
Mitchell.
Game on.
He's going to need to see you and raise you to take a win in this match.
One thing Scandinavians are really good at is checking, raising and calling.
47.
Don't play anybody from Scandinavia at cards. That's rule number 1. But I have had a tweet from someone called Hamper Nordstrom. I really hope I said that the right way. I do apologise if I didn't.
140.
I am taking this guy's opinion. It sounds pretty legitimate. That Hamper has said, I would believe that Harrison's biggest achievement so far is winning the
100.
Swedish Championship 3 times in a row. That's only been done by 2 greats, Stefan Lord and Magnus Karras. So that seems pretty plausible. And as far as the next generation
66.
of Swedish darts is concerned, I've had multiple sources tonight telling me about a young player that I haven't heard of until now. But listen for the name of Victor Tingström. Now that's on my radar, I'm watching out for that young person.
135.
So bring it on, Victor.
talk about
60.
cards. I think one of my heroes, I don't know if you've ever played poker or watched it, Paul, but I went through a phase. I just loved watching on telly. Gus Hansen.
Oh, Danish. Yeah, I've got his autograph.
Have you
I met him in
really?
Australia, yeah.
So aggressive player he was. He would even go
99.
blind without looking at his cards. It was something I really enjoyed. And I went through a phase where it was on the TV quite a lot. And I just wasn't very good. I just didn't have the patience, the words you used.
You know what? Gus wasn't just good at cards.
140.
He was a very
Jimmy
good
require
high-stakes
120.
Yahtzee player as well. A little bit higher, Jim. And higher, baby. Don't ever want to come down.
80.
Name that tune.
I don't know, but that was another fantastic
95.
angle there. Feels like I'm back in the quiz on Monday. 76. Very traditional. I think players might have gone the two double
55.
19s on that route there.
Jimmy require 40.
And this is a must hit for the Scotsman. Perfect marker. Surely if he'd bounce off that tungsten.
20.
And we heard the gasp, the sigh from Jim McEwen.
Andreas, you require
I don't think
40.
anyone saw a big, big whitewash victory in this game.
For a second consecutive one as well. On double 10. Mr.
Game,
Reliable
shot,
on double
and the
10,
match.
as Glenn
Andreas
said earlier in the
Harrison.
night. And Jim McEwen has stopped in his tracks. I said when he won his previous match, he had not lost since Tuesday, but that winning streak has come to an end at 7. Andreas Harrison undefeated here tonight, and he's got better a little bit more in that third performance of the night. 6 points for him, and it will have to be 4 for Jim for now. But when we come back, it's going to be a battle of the commentators with Mitchell against Edgar.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where before the break we saw Andreas Harrison seal a 4-0 success against Jim McEwen. Well, this is the one we've all been waiting for, hasn't it? It's the commentators' derby. It's Matthew Edgar up against Scott Mitchell, two people who have talked the talk on the Super Series. It's time for them to walk the walk on the Oki. Well, talking through the action in this one, here's Paul Nicholson and Glenn Durrant.
Thank you so much, Henry. Yes, this is the game we've all been sort of waiting for, and for Scott Mitchell, maybe that game against Richie Parkham was just that moment that he needed. The frustration will probably be pretty evident after losing his first two games 4-3, but he's had his sighter now. He beat Richie Parkham with aplomb and averaged over 100 for the majority of that game, and you have to feel he's a big favourite against Matt Edgar, who, you know, he's had a decent day. He'd be really pleased that he's competitive again. Knowing his high standards, he'll want to go up there and lay another statement here. I've been really impressed with his, his desire to win. Well, he's been howling with derision when he's been missing his doubles, meaning that he still really wants it. He's still very competitive, but this is a tough, tough ask. Looking forward to this one, Paul.
Yeah, me too. And for this reason, Edgar should as well, because if he can get a win against Mitchell, he'll go to second in the table.
First leg, it's Scott to throw first.
However,
game on.
Mitchell could also cement second spot for now. But there is a bit of an asterisk against that. This is Mitchell's last game.
100.
Edgar's got 2 left. So he's got a double crack at getting the 4 points, which would mean a 50-50 record here on Thursday night and Friday morning. It's an intriguing table, but then again, most Group B tables are.
Yeah, the fact Richie Parkin's so far down, that could make it really interesting. That you're looking at the permutation of 3 from 4.
81.
This is good.
140.
As it pains me to say. Only joking.
They've never played each other before. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, Matt didn't do many WDF competitions, and maybe when
95.
Scott came across, it was at trying to think if there was a crossover when Matt still had his car, but I think when Scott got his, Matt lost, so yeah, it makes
60.
sense that they haven't really come across each other. Matt, who's doing a lot of work for MODUS on the exhibitions now, so not only is he getting the flavour of Europe, of what it's like to be on the road in the WDF, he's also doing a lot of MODUS exhibitions and putting a little video together for them. And at times he's been playing really well. One exhibition he got to the final.
First star.
No.
I get the feeling that my
98.
co-commentator does not want to hear the end of another
Scott,
170 story, Matt.
85.
Edgar couldn't take this earlier on the bullseye, and Mitchell does not need the bullseye. He needs double 10.
65.
Not quite. We couldn't see whether it had gone in, but we knew
72.
anyway because of the face of Scotty Dog.
And this will tell an awful lot about the way Matt is when you're getting a 1 dart at a double only.
Game shot in the first leg.
There's that
Matthew
raw
Edgar.
once again. He's letting us know. We just missed that double 10 from Scott there, but we certainly knew Matt had hit the double 16. We could hear it
Second
here
leg
in the
is
comms
Matthew
box.
to throw first.
I think
Game
that's
on.
a fantastic sign.
Yeah, he's very much wanting to win, to compete. That fire is still there. Now,
55.
I've been saving this one for this match. Now, I gave a little hint earlier as to what's happened in week 12 in previous qualification campaigns. Not to put any pressure on you, Matt, at all, because I'm really not going to do this. But Chris Mason, who has done a lot of commentary work with us and around the world over the last 15 years, he won week 12 a couple of series ago, and he went on to make the grand final of the Super Series won by Conan Whitehead here last October. So a commentator on this project made the grand final. We have 2 commentators here who could potentially mimic that.
99.
That would be another big story. And I suppose one of the biggest stories since we've been here was Chris Mason winning that night.
Yeah, it was. He was absolutely sensational after 10, 12 years away from real top-notch darts. It'd be no surprise to any of us if Scott Mitchell was there on Saturday night and picking up the $5,000 trophy. For Matt Edgar, I think it'd be a bigger story after everything that he's been through, the injuries, the doubt, the concerns. Like I said, he's got other things, the commentary work. He's obviously on his back there, Edgar TV. He's our biggest YouTuber in darts. Out the players, he's trying to let people see different angles of him and understanding.
138.
But certainly could happen with the guy in the
Matthew
picture
require
there.
150.
3 bulls would have been nice, Matt.
41.
I just
Scott, you
stayed
require
quiet there. I
40.
don't know if you would feel tempted about doing something like that. Mitchell, however,
Game
takes
shot
the
in the
tops for
second
13
leg.
darter.
Scott Mitchell.
And straight back at you.
Very business. Look at that. The determination.
Third leg
the
is
little
Scott to
tact.
throw first. Game
All the
on.
things that some of them little idiosyncrasies that players have. He's just giving himself just a little well done. There's the. I was about to say he doesn't offer you much, Scott, which is very similar to Andres there, but he
68.
raised his eyebrow, which is telling me he's feeling good about himself right now.
2 consecutive 4-0 victories since the half-time break.
96.
That's not going to continue. Next game will be Jim McEwen against Richie Parkin, and it will be Edgar against Harrison to finish off our Group B action for what's been a very long day of darts.
100.
I assure you, we're not finished there because we've got exactly the same tomorrow. Group C will be finalised by around 5:30 on Friday afternoon, and then
53.
we will be back for Group B action to finalise the Saturday night lineup from 10 p.m. on Friday. Usual channels apply. Sporty Stuff TV from 3 p.m. on Friday, but preceding that, the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel will all
100.
start at 1 p.m.
A nod of appreciation from Scott Mitchell there. Just a little thing. Just telling me that
100.
he's feeling good. I think you can see the fact that he can win this game, and I think it's a minimum for him to get the 4 points from his 4 games today. Very comfortably could go through the card tomorrow, but like I say, it's just about getting there on Saturday night.
Should have
57.
gone bull with the last start, Scott.
And the fact he went for the 19 made me think he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. 2 single 19s and a 25 leave 170. That's bare minimum.
100.
You get 7 19s leaves a 2 darter and 100. But ultimately, dart 3 just went to the wrong place. And he's cost himself a shot at a finish.
60.
You can't teach an old dog new
Matthew
tricks.
require
But
152.
maybe if he was to watch this back, he would understand that maybe he went for the wrong shot with the last dart on that previous visit.
100.
He's put some pressure on this
Scott, you require
116 from nowhere, Matt,
116.
after 15 darts. Seen this a few times, the 116. It's a finish for light, just the 1 treble. There it is, for one of the favoured doubles on the board.
98.
Yes, I think you'd be frustrated with that. The fact
Matthew
he went low
require
on it as well.
52.
For Matt Edgar, it's 2 darts, a double 16.
Game shot in the third leg. Matthew Edgar.
Not bad at all. But this is a bit of a break fest. 3 legs,
Fourth
3
leg is Matthew
breaks.
to throw first. Game
And
on.
these are the games that really keep you up at night. You think, well, how can I not hold my own throw? It might even be Edgar
140.
who gets the first hold. And if he does, he will take a 3-1 lead. Something that hasn't happened tonight yet for Matt. No 180s.
And no 170 finishes, thankfully.
100.
If you're not aware, Matthew Edgar did once get a 170 checkout to beat Gary Anderson.
But he's like Uncle Al, but he
57.
never talks about it. And he thinks that shirt's so aesthetically pleasing, it's the best shirt out there in darts at the moment.
The dart shirt he's wearing. Speaking of 180s,
180.
there's one from Mitchell. I like this dart shirt. I like it. I think it's got an identity. I didn't like the previous one.
100.
I made a bit of a joke about Matt's previous shirt, and he saw the funny side of it. Because I said it looked like a really famous toothpaste.
better than mine, though. Do you remember me red one with a white stripe down?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you watch horse racing, but there's a very
41.
popular group which wear that same one. The two brothers, I think they're called. And in the end, they said they're called, I said I look like a fat jockey.
That's really harsh.
60.
Was a little bit, wasn't it? Plump, maybe.
A 140 here is the ideal score. We could be seeing another break of throw.
I like these darts.
81. Matthew require
He will
144.
despise that last dart. Because now he's still in 3-dart range.
96.
Edgar's set up play, to be fair.
Scott, you require 99.
This would be a huge win. This would be, I think, if the 99 doesn't go, becomes a really big favourite for this match. What a dart.
69.
He was going for the open bit on the left-hand
Matthew
side.
require
I don't blame
48.
him, actually. But Edgar could stretch his lead. If it's 8's hit,
Game
it's
shot
there.
in the fourth leg. Matthew
he's not got the best
Edgar.
average in this game, but he's the one with the 3-1 advantage. And he might just be getting himself to 4 points. And at the same time, restricting Scotty
Fifth leg
Dog
is Scott to
to
throw
2 for
first.
the evening.
Game on.
I think we had a player last week who was very vociferous when he was hitting winning doubles. I tell you what, Matt Edgar's up there with him every time he hits a double.
You're talking about Stevie
100.
Johnson.
He was going ballistic when I was watching. He made me jump on one occasion. And I tell you what, your guy in your picture right now, he's looking for his first max.
140.
He must be delighted with the way tonight's gone, Matt. You could just see he just wasn't sure when he arrived at the venue today. He was very generous in offering an interview and very candid, very softly spoken about the whole tonight. But you can just see he's getting a little bit more
100.
brash, a little bit more cocky. The confidence is coming out. I'm really pleased for him.
He's playing pretty well. There's definitely another gear in there
60.
somewhere, but he's searching very well for it. He's causing Mitchell issues. And Matt's not the kind of player that gets ruffled by the more deliberate players.
100.
He's so mentally savvy that he can use up seconds and it doesn't bother him.
Yeah, I like that. I prefer to play a slower player
91.
than someone like where you're just at the hockey all the time. I like to start. I like that couple of seconds behind now, thinking, what am I going to do? Where do I go next? How is he throwing? But when you're at the board all the time, I struggled with that.
95.
6 darts and 210 is the plan.
He thought that was in, so did I.
60.
We were both wrong.
Scott, you require 106.
Advantage Mitchell. Treble 18.
It's a big ask for Matthew.
74.
One big Hail
Matthew
Mary
require
required.
150.
Look at the determination in his face. He wants this.
Good
81.
last start.
We were both pointing
Scott, you
down,
require
but he ignored
32.
us both.
Mitchell can see plenty of that. He's very tall. He has to go high. And
Game
finds the
shot in
double
the
eight.
fifth leg.
He
Scott
misses that.
Mitchell.
He's going to have to dodge at least one match dart to stay in this contest. But the
Sixth leg
name
is
of this
Matthew to throw
game
first.
is to
Game
make
on.
sure that your opponent does not get a match shot. Well done, Scott.
Yeah, I think Matt Edgar was smelling that finish there for the victory there, and that's just a
96.
sign of a champion with that one dart to go. Shows real bottle. Again, another nice start, an acceptable start for Matt Edgar, making your opponent need 2 trebles.
95.
Again, just look at the reaction there from Scott. I'm just watching these two players so closely, and the body language, the thoughts, the
98.
good game, good game.
Do you get the feeling that Mitchell is enjoying being part of a battle?
I think the night, in a sense, has been a little frustrating for him, but he hasn't, he hasn't hidden
45.
away. But I don't think he could wanted the battle. Another 4-0 victory here would have been nicely, and come back and start again tomorrow.
100.
I think the person who's enjoying the battle actually is Matt Edgar.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually, because You think about the way he's played tonight. He's been like someone at the bottom of a sequoia tree who is trying to hack it down with a spoon.
41.
And he is enjoying the fact that he's doing it very slowly. Give him an axe and he'll do it quickly. But give him a spoon and he will try his heart out.
59.
You've got to remember, 8 days ago, not even less than that, he thought his career was over. And here he is battling with a former Lakeside champion. He is loving the battle.
Yeah, he's not tapping out.
100. Matthew
Coin a
require
phrase from
148.
something else he loves, which is professional wrestling.
I think he was there this week and he'll love this setup play.
100.
It's his to lose from here.
In a funny sort of way, considering what he's done in the last few days in winning in Iceland. If he were to put in a win against Scott
100.
Mitchell as well in the same week.
Matthew require 48.
This is not a bad week of darts for Matthew Edgar as he goes for double 16 to win the match.
16.
He has to now survive the equivalent of 3 double tops.
Scott, you require 120.
Potentially could be the fact that he's not as match sharp as he'd like to be. When you get them moments, I thought you just rushed to the hockey a little bit. What a dart. What a dart.
80.
Bends away. Would have become favourite because in the last leg,
Matthew
would have had the
require
darts.
32.
These are the moments you practice for. Over to you, Matthew Edgar.
He wins.
Game, shot.
And he's
the
now
match,
got 4
Matthew
points in the
Edgar.
table, and that is something that Scott Mitchell will not do this evening. He will have to come back on Friday to have a crack at the top 3, whereas Edgar will be back in game 10 to try and get his points total to 6 for the night. Things went his way, and he took full advantage of the chances he could muster. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll see how Jim McEwen and Richie Parkin finish up in their campaign in Group B for day 1.
180.
The MODUS Super Series, where you can get tickets for every single Saturday night. Head over to dartshop.tv to get those tickets for every single Saturday night. Before the break, we saw Matthew Edgar back in the winner's enclosure. He got the better of Scott Mitchell. A couple more games then for us here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. It's Andreas Harrison against Jim McEwen, and here's the boys in the box.
Yeah, it's actually Richie Parkin up there against Jim McEwen, and Richie has had an absolute mare tonight. He'll be absolutely gutted. One of the real nicest guys you'll ever meet in darts. Absolutely loved his experience at the MODUS Super Series last time. And I guess the last person, Paul, you want to be playing when you've played 3, lost 3, is Jim McEwen.
Yeah, it's a bit like opening the door to your house. It's the middle of the night, it's dark. Who do you not want to see? Chucky. You don't want to see Chucky in the middle of the night. And it's almost the middle of the night.
Jim to
so
throw first.
Good luck, Richie.
Game on.
This might be your worst nightmare. He's not a horror show, is Jim McEwen. He's actually a lovely guy.
He is. He's a great guy.
He's just got a horrifying nickname, which
100.
has got horrible connotations. You got a favourite nickname in darts, Glenn? Of somebody else?
Mark Frost.
Obviously.
83.
Frosty the Throwman. Possibly the best nickname in all of sport.
That was an absolute bra. Whoever came up with that, that's an absolute beauty. There's some great ones as well. Ice cold beverage.
40.
I think I quite like that one as well.
If you're watching Darren, we miss you, mate. Darren Beveridge up there in Scotland.
There's one or two I can think of for own Bates, but what a chance he's got next week. Another ferocious
30.
talent. And the precocious Luke Littler. What a week next week. I can't wait. Wish I was here.
You can be here, Glenn. All you got to do is go to dartshop.tv to get yourself a ticket.
Oh, that's what you call a link.
100.
I know I shouldn't have any bias, but I'd love to see Richie just finish the night with something. Like I said, I don't think they're travelling on the day. He'll probably say, Glenn,
100.
I listened to your commentary last night. I think you're wrong. And my pride is my daughter. Totally agree, Richie. I'm just trying to give some sort of defence of why you haven't been at your brilliant best, because the information I was getting from friends last week is the competition he played in.
121.
At times it was exceptional. Just hasn't been tonight.
If Richie was to come back on Friday without points from Thursday and pick up 6 points and fail to make the top 3,
81.
we could
Jimmy
possibly
Require,
then
140.
talk about the preparation on the day. But if he plays this way again tomorrow night, then maybe the excuse has to be the overall performance.
We said it was a tough group. I didn't think anyone would be as
25.
detached as what Richie potentially could be. And look, he hasn't lost this game yet. That's not a gimme 115 by any stretch. But what Richie has to do here at this point. And then it's just not the one, it's the fact they're so low as well. It's, you know, the throw, like we identified,
80.
he is a bit of a floater.
Jimmy Require,
He's not a
115.
power throw. You're never going to see the darts going in like a Scott Mitchell's dart goes in the board. But the timing just seems a little bit off. It's treble 20 for McEwen. And he'll take his time. He'll make Richie think about that 1-2-7 and game.
$59.
This would ignite
Richie
him
Require,
at the start of this match.
127.
Everybody loves a 1-2-7. And game.
Game shot and the first leg.
Nothing
Richie
more to be
Parkin.
said.
Apart from my Paul Hinks impression.
127 in game.
That wasn't bad,
Second
actually.
leg is Richie to throw first. Game on.
I'm here all week. The 156 from Scott was possibly the moment I thought that would be the spark.
85.
And that 127 from Richie, and that little wry smile as he creeps into the 5 again. It's just a tough night for him. But that 127 there, it just shows a little bit of class. And for the Scott Mitchell and for Matthew Edgar, a win here for Richie Parker would be great for them.
I've got no idea how that second dart found the 60 from Jim McEwen. And I did that classic thing that every commentator does when they see a dart that they aren't sure if it's in.
81.
To get closer to the TV screen that we've got in front of us. And we don't know why we do it.
Oh, it's even better when you turn to your left and turn to your right to see if it's in.
It never changes. The one thing that Jim wants to change is that
42.
little 0 that's next to his name. He wants that to be a 1 next. The last thing he wants to see is Richie Parkin growing in confidence and stopping him from getting to 6 points
60.
for the night. Because I guarantee you this, Glenn, if Jim walks away with only 4 points, he's going to be livid.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point, because he did look like the star performer at the halfway stage. The quiet, but
49.
effective Andres Harrison, the one player who's still unbeaten. And he'll fancy his chances in a big game coming up against the also impressive Matthew Edgar.
73.
Harrison will start as favourite, even though we've just seen Edgar beat Scott Mitchell because of the levels that we've seen rising from the Swede all night. The
96.
fact that his lowest average of the night so far is close to 87 and his best is almost 97. That's a bad sign for Matthew Edgar. He's going to have to find his best
27.
performance of the night, I feel, to beat Andreas Harrison to walk away with 6 points for the day.
I think I can hear the laughter of Darryl Pilgrim, because today hasn't been great. I don't think anyone's going to go to bed tonight, barring Andres Harrison, thinking today's been a good day. I think there's a lot of hard work ahead tomorrow.
140.
A lot of people thinking and planning. But right now, the standout guy is the guy who's in his own bed tonight.
Might be doing a Monty Burns, just putting his fingertips together and saying,
45.
excellent.
Jimmy requires 74.
He's not having to do anything. He can simply practice at will tomorrow and maybe on Saturday morning a little bit before he comes back for the finals. Double top for Jim.
34.
Loses the line and doesn't quite
Richie
get the
require
weight.
130.
So Parkin, for 2 legs on Tum Plus finishes, needs another. But gets a shot at the bull again. Wow.
Game shot in the second leg. Richie Parkin.
Just like London buses. 2 in a row on the bull. And right now, Jim McEwen needs a sick bucket.
Yeah, there was no engagement there from Jim. He just turned his back
Third
on him.
leg
But
is
Richie
Jim to
Parkin
throw
being the guy,
first.
he's just
Game
patted him
on.
on the back there. More of an apology more than anything. He's just thinking to himself, it's been an absolute disaster tonight, but them ridiculously 2 finishes. And somehow, I'm 2-0 up in this game. But what I would say to Richie is grit your teeth right now. And put these
60.
2 beds to bed, because Jim is not at the races.
No, he's not. Got to take advantage of this if you're going to stay in this race. And I assure you,
60.
Richie, if you can win this game, you are still in this race. Yes, you've got an inferior leg difference at -10. That doesn't help. However, if you walk away with 2 points, Mitchell's got 2, and McEwen's got 4, you are within 2 points of
140.
potentially knocking on the door of the top 3. And maybe, just maybe,
85.
his schedule could come back to help him, because he's got the last game tomorrow night against Andreas Harrison. Having the last game, sometimes it's good because you see everybody else do all of their work and you know exactly what you've got to do
134.
when you play 2 of the last 3 games.
But he has to see out this game first tonight. Once again, he's well behind.
100.
And he might have to rely
Jim,
on
you
another
require
monster finish.
167.
Which Jim McEwen is 100 ahead and his darts.
Sorry, Richie's going to hit a 135 here. He's going to leave 121, and he's going to hit the bull at the end. Now, if that comes out to
57.
happen,
I'll drop the mic.
I'm going to start working for a tabloid newspaper as an astrologer. Told you it wouldn't happen.
58. Jim, you require 110.
I think the dart slipped.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how light that grip is. It's very inset in that thumb and forefinger, isn't it? And that middle finger is
40.
incredibly important just to steady it. And when he doesn't get it right, it could actually fall inside the palm.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was seeing there.
43. Jim, you require 70.
Don't give him a shot, Jim. He might just take that 155 out. Doesn't have to move.
30.
Well, over to you, Richie. Let's see if we can get three big
Richie, you
finishes.
require
On each
155.
occasion, Jim has bent the wire. He brings that flight all the way back down. When you stand behind him, it looks very
47.
elegant, very stylish.
Jim, you require 40.
Tonight, there's just something not going right with the fundamentals of that throw. Jim looks a double 10.
Game shot in the third leg. Jim McEwen.
He does enough. He's back in this match and he'll feel he's the better player in this game. He won't panic, Jim.
Fourth leg, it's Richie to throw first.
For Richie right
Game
now,
on.
it must start with your throw now. These 5s and 1s. I mean, it's because I know him better than most players. He's one of the straightest players as well, and I think that's just what will be hurting the most.
45.
What's been the biggest week for him of his calendar year, being at the MODUS Super Series. Been a bit of a disaster.
$85.
On the bright side, he is still ahead. And still has the darts, but only just.
Just how far he is away from the target. Oh my God, he says.
45.
Big a thing is it? Because of ADC darts and the school that we know the Northeast has. When you're playing local tournaments, there's so many great players there. And people actually travel to go to these tournaments in the Northeast.
140.
How important is it that players like Richie Parkin will be up against known talents to the wider darting public all the time, and that reputation
140.
of his opponents here doesn't mean as much?
Yeah, and what you've got to remember is Richie Parkin's got an invite to the MODUS Super Series. He hasn't come here via the ADC. So, like I said, it's unless he goes to the ADC. But, like I said, he's not a real big thinker. He's not one for reputations. He just gets up there and, you know, with his massive averages, which he's well capable of doing, he feels like he can do everything.
42.
His greatest moment in his dart was winning the Whitby Open. And all of a sudden, last time he's here at the MODUS Super Series, he said, I was beginning to get the realisation what it must feel like to be a real top-notch dart player.
121.
That he got something other than money and a trophy for winning the Whitby Open. There had to be some sort of fish and chips involved.
He said it was his biggest moment, and it was a big turn-off from the Teesside crowd for sure, and there's some great players in the Whitby area as well,
100.
but there was something
Richie
special
require
by winning that. But yeah,
150.
let's hope he won some battered fish. Then again, if he's working in a fish factory, I think the last thing he wants to see.
That's true.
58.
I think right now he's just saying,
Jim, you
good
require
cod.
134.
$92 away from a 3-1 advantage. That's his Call of Duty right now.
94.
Yeah,
Richie require 92.
everybody's been so aggressive with this route now. There's the wry smile. I fancied that to go in, and look at them. Look at Jim McEwen behind. He
54.
thought one thing. He thought this is
Jim, you
going
require
in.
40.
He was right in one sense. It went in the double, but it was the wrong
Game
one.
shot in the fourth
and
leg.
McEwen
Jim
is now favoured
McEwen.
for the match again. Small margins in darts can separate mediocre.
Fifth leg, it's
from
Jim to throw
comfortable.
first. Game on.
I feel for Richie, I won't lie. It's been a tough day, actually, watching really good friends and going through all the ups and downs, the
82.
seesaw of emotions, the trials and tribulations, the twists and turns.
You're going to sleep well tonight, Glenn. You've had a lot of nervous energy today.
Yeah, I think I'm hitting that wall.
57.
Big weekend of darts as well. Super Series qualification for Series 3 finalised, and the
80.
finals on Saturday. Dutch Darts Championship happening over in Leeuwarden in the Netherlands as well. And you mentioned that the Denmark Open is on?
Yeah, another 250
82.
plus entries. There'll be a big UK following there. It's a great competition. And good luck to Chris Mason. He's in the comms box for the
82.
Dutch Masters. I know he's been really looking forward to that. Seen a nice photo of him arriving in Amsterdam. Right now, I think that's where Richie Parkham,
58.
Richie Parkham wishes he was at. It's a lonely place, Paul, up there, isn't it? When you're not at your best.
You get no help. Who are you going to call? You can't call anybody. Because you gave your phone to the Players Marshal
140.
hours ago. You're on your own. One of the reasons that we like this sport and we love
Jimmy
to
Require,
be part of the battle is
117.
that we get something from being solitary. You're the one who can help yourself. We all dig that. It's always better when you're playing well, but when you're not playing well, it's a real battle against yourself.
It's such an individual sport. It's such a real mind bender at times.
44.
Jim's nowhere near his best right now, and Jim can walk away with 6 points.
Reminds me a little bit of Justin Smith in Group
99.
C. He was, by
Jimmy
far and
Require,
away,
73.
a long way from his best today, but still topped the table on 8 points. McEwen
Game
is
shot on
one
the
leg
fifth
away
leg.
from getting 6
Jim
points.
McEwen.
And all of a sudden, he's starting to put something together. That's a 17 darter. And
Sixth
Parkham
leg
has
is
not
Richie to
won a
throw
leg
first.
since
Game
that
on.
130 checkout on the Bull.
I think we're looking at 3 from 4 right now, Paul. If it's a 0-4 return for Richie Parkham, look how
100.
quickly he sped up in that throw there. And they're the type of darter I'm not normally seeing. So maybe the fact he was just overthinking his throw a little bit. But it's typical when you suddenly start feeling a little bit better.
180.
Produces darts like that.
Cricket stump 180. Off stump, middle stump, leg stump. Wonderfully done.
125.
Watching Richie Parkins turned into Ricky Evans.
$96.
Steady stuff.
We could never accuse Jim McEwen of being Ricky Evans, that's for sure. He'll do it his way.
He's never going to change his pace. Some players have
44.
improved their speed over the years. Colin Osborne, a little bit earlier on in Thursday's play, he's sped up over the years. Brendan Dolan has done that at the top level. But Jim, he will just do what Jim does.
180.
He'll score more 180s than you, and he will outgun you in the end. And it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do to Richie Parkin.
90. Jimmy Require, 45.
All in the hands of the Scotsman. And from 2-0 down, Jim McEwen looks at tops. He lays his marker.
Game,
It's a 4-2
shot, and the
victory
match.
for Jim
Jim
McEwen.
McEwen.
Not at his best at times tonight, but he'd be absolutely delighted with played 4-1-3. And 6 points just lays a fantastic foundation to qualify through this Group B. That he'll be happy with. he'll realise he's still got work to do. For Richie Parkin, it's been a night to forget. The only real positive there for Richie Parkin was that fantastic finishes. And the 130 was just that little bit special alongside the 127. But it was all about Jim McEwen. He was the big favourite in that match, and he's come through with that difficult game. As we now enter the final game of Group B of Day 1, and it's returning Matt Edgar against the unbeaten Swede, Andreas Harrison.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where before the break, Jim McEwen sealed a 4-2 success against Richie Parkin. That was our 9th game of the evening. One more to go, and it definitely features Andreas Harrison this time. Well, I got a little bit ahead of myself, didn't I? He takes on Matthew Edgar. This rounds off the evening session. This is going to be watched by Paul and Glenn.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry. Yeah, definitely Parkin issues for Richie as he tries to work out exactly what went wrong, but for the guy in your picture there, it's been picture perfect. Andreas Harrison has been absolutely outstanding, and this guy has been just as good in many of the similarities of ways, because he came into this competition not 100% sure, and right now he's competitive and he's shown real signs of skill, and a big winner here over the Swede. Really opens this group up for Andreas, Jim and Matthew Edgar, and put a 4-point gap in between Scott Mitchell. So a big, big final game of the day. Tough one to call.
Absolutely.
60.
Just checking to see where indeed the part of Sweden that Andreas is from. It's the eastern part.
100.
of Sweden. As I can see, it's actually quite far down in the southeast corner.
Yeah.
95.
South of Stockholm and east of Gothenburg. When I see Gothenburg on a map, I always think of Jonathan Edwards, the triple jumper, when he got that world record in the mid-90s.
18 metres,
100.
26 centimetres.
No, he never used to compete on Sundays.
Yeah. Bizarrely. I was wondering what he was doing
55.
these days. I remember him commentating on the Athletics, and that's just one of them weird moments. Whatever happened to Jonathan Edwards? But yeah, I'm a huge track and field fan. I'm also a huge fan of Andreas Harrison because he continues to impress. He's had a bit of a gap, and I wonder if a little bit of fatigue might have set in.
Andreas, you require 121.
Lightning quick.
As the night has gone on, he's just got better and better and better. And that is bad news for Matthew Edgar.
89.
And that was for a 12-darter and a breaker throw. But he puts himself in a fantastic position. And all Matt can do is put pressure, which he's done.
134.
Left a 2-darter.
Andreas, you require 32.
It's advantage to the Swede.
Good lie, that. Can he use it?
16.
He can't on this occasion. And Edgar's got
Matthew
a bonus
required,
opportunity to
97.
hold his throw here in 6 visits.
And I like that bonus opportunity because that's exactly how we should see it. The leg was over. Now he's getting 2-darter tops.
Game
and what
shot and
a
the first
phenomenal
leg.
finish that was.
Matthew Edgar.
And there is the roar that we've heard so many times. And once again, all the jokes I had about Matt Edgar.
Second
I'm
leg
putting
is
them away,
Andreas to
so
throw first.
the
Game
Swede
on.
versus the turnip. I can't say it.
I'll let you address that one afterwards. But one thing is for real.
100.
And the opportunity for Edgar to top the table by the end of the night is there. If he wins by 4 legs to 1,
100.
he will be top dog for a period of around 20 hours.
I'm really struggling with this being nice to Matt Edgar if that's the case.
55.
If it's 4-2 Edgar, it will mean he is in exactly the same position as Harrison. They will have 6 points each and a leg difference of +5 each.
Just look at the determination in his face. He is loving this. He's absolutely loving it. And that's all because, you know, 1 week away,
60.
you've just got to put himself in how he's feeling. I know what he means because I would love to be up there. I'd love to be competitive. I'm not interested in
60.
breaking down barriers. I've done my fair share, but I don't want to sort of be remembered as that person who imploded and just fell off that mountain like no other player's done before. And just being competitive, just like he's doing now.
140.
And just seeing that smile and determination and that real desire right now. I'm really, really pleased for him.
100. Andreas, you require
Much
146.
more manageable finish than that of Andreas. So it's 116
100.
to double the lead
Matthew require 116.
and to break.
What a dart again. Going to get a dart at tops.
96.
Only one word I heard
Andreas,
then,
you
that was
require
no.
46.
I think they heard that in Southampton.
Double 18. I'm not sure that was the one that Harrison was wishing for.
37.
I think he was going for a 6.
Matthew,
But
you
that's just
require
me.
20.
Somewhat guessing on the fly as Edgar goes for double 10. Well, if no was the
No
answer to
score.
the previous shot at tops, I think right
Andreas,
now
you
his
require
stomach
9.
is bubbling. Because he'll have hated that visit from start to finish.
That's the hard part done because double four's been like a magnet to Andreas, but
5.
not this time.
Matthew, you
Not
require
only is Matt
20.
Edgar playing good darts, look at that determination. Actually getting a bit of luck.
Game shot and the second leg. Matthew Edgar.
And I get the feeling that Edgar is enjoying playing Scandinavians in the last week.
Third leg is Matthew to throw
Predominantly,
first.
he's
Game
been
on.
beating them. Started his night with a 4-0 win
100.
against Richie Parkin. Albeit, Richie did not play well and he took advantage of it. But it was still a mid-80s average. It was very decent.
I think
100.
Matthew wants to start playing for Iceland and change his name to Matthew Edgerson.
60.
That's with 2 S's. Just like Harrison.
And he's not a Viking. And he couldn't grow a beard like Andres.
I don't think there are many Vikings in Daventry.
60.
Yes, there's another joke I had. He's on the Iceland Masters and the Daventry Open.
93.
Christmas handicaps, mixed pairs. All them jokes have gone because he's played rather well tonight.
Just remember that just by getting to Saturday night,
140.
there is a financial benefit to that. And the further you get into Saturday, the prize does rise.
140.
By making the semi-finals, you get £1,250. The final, 2,500. Win it, you get the 5,000 and the invitation back for next week.
165.
That's more like it from Harrison.
Matthew,
But if he
require
sees Edgar hit
108.
this, he'll feel sick. Double 16. So close.
76. Andreas, you require 36.
I think we both sat forward there because we fancied that double 16.
Game shot in the third leg. Andreas Harrison.
Just casually gets on with his work, but he'll be frustrated, Matt Edgar, there with a one dart double 60.
Fourth
I have a
leg is
feeling when he
Andreas
let
to
go of
throw
that
first.
dart,
Game on.
he knew it was close. And he's letting you know his emotions every time he misses a double. He's up for the challenge.
Quite a few darts missed the double already
45.
in this match. As you can see here, Harrison's missed 8 and Edgar's missed 5. That last dart
60.
at double, however, the most costly so far for Matt, because it cost him a 3-0 scoreline.
Yeah, from 3-0 in this match is now very much in the
59.
balance. A really important 6-9 darts coming up. That's exactly what Matthew wants to see.
140.
I studied his averages when he was in Iceland last week, and albeit that he won, he had a lot of averages in the 70s, and I think his highest was in the 80s.
100.
And I thought, it's going to be really tough in this Group B. He's done really well tonight, hasn't he?
I think he's played better tonight than he did last week.
100.
85.89 in his first win. After that, a loss with an 88. Then a win with an 84.8. So we know which kind of range he's playing
100.
in. This is similar, albeit the tiniest bit better. Good
105.
thinking to leave the 2 darter. Here comes the pressure.
100.
That was quite fortunate to stay in the
Matthew
20.
96.
Would have worked for Benito. All he can do is lay up now.
56.
And Matthew hit him hard with
Andreas,
a
you
97
require
finish,
97.
which really changed this match. Revenge is sweet. He's going to stay on the double 19. And there's the little shake of head. It's
57.
advantage Edgar.
Matthew requires 40.
Sprints to the hockey. He'll let you know if he's hit it or if he's missed.
He's
Game
hit it.
shot in the fourth leg.
And the
Matthew
worst
Edgar.
possible scenario now for Edgar is 4 points and +2 in his leg difference for the night.
Fifth
If you'd
leg
have
is
offered
Matthew
him
to
that
throw
at
first.
the very start of the night,
Game on.
he might have taken it. But he wouldn't take it now. He wants 6 points, and if he wins this leg here, he will finish top of the table
100.
for the day.
I did grab a word with him. I said, why are you playing so well tonight, Matt? What's your secret? He said, well, I'm treating it like one of my exhibitions because there's nobody here
100.
like my exhibitions. I said, don't be too hard on yourself, young man.
100.
He's played very steady all night long. And he's had how many 180s? None. Not one
60.
single maximum.
Oh, there's my tweet then after when this finishes. I'm not going all gooey gaga with him. Fair play
100.
to the laddie. This is solid.
He might hit a 180 to leave 21. Looks like Harrison needs one.
140.
6 darts from 201 will be his thought. I would have gone down to the 19s on that one.
59.
It's the first sign of slight disappointment because Andres usually punishes when he gets down to this 201.
140.
exactly what he's done.
Matthew require 142.
This is to win. It's not successful. And Harrison, who
60.
discarded the opportunity of
Andreas
going for the
requires
bullseye with the last
61.
start, went for the aggressive double dip in the 60, and has now got double 8. Make it fours.
53.
2 wired shots now give Edgar
Matthew
the chance
require 82.
to be the top dog in Group B after day 1. 82 points turns into 57. It's double top.
42.
Top of the shop does not give him top of the tree.
Andreas, you require 8.
That would have just been the cherry on the cake, and I think if there was a vote, he would have been classed as player of the day. It still might be, because this double 2's not a gimme.
4.
Wowzer.
Matthew, you require 40. Game,
Edgar's the man.
shot, and the match.
Simple as that.
Matthew Edgar.
A 4-1 victory for him means that he vaults Andreas Harrison at the top of the table. And I guarantee you, you want to stay tuned to social media over the course of the rest of the night and going into Friday morning, because I think the reaction to what we've just seen tonight from Matthew Edgar is going to be very, very interesting indeed. He will finish on 6 points and a leg difference of +6, and Harrison will be demoted to the 2nd position in the table. There you see 83.36. That's the kind of average he's had all night long. 1 out of every 3 darts at double hit. And Harrison, you don't need me to tell you what went wrong, because 13 missed darts at double mean that he is defeated for the very first time in this group by the man who tops the table. Let's get the final thoughts of Henry Deacon and Glenn Durrant, who are up on the balcony.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Matthew Edgar, very, very solid debut for him. And when you consider everything he's gone through over the last week or so, every single game, there was just a different kind of quality that came to the fore with him.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think by the end of today I'd be saying that Matt Edgar was the player of the day, but under the circumstances, he's been absolutely outstanding, and I'm absolutely delighted for him.
So this is the table following the first day's play here at the Live Lounge. So we've got 3 players tied at the top on 6 points. Let's go through the other players involved in that. Andreas Harrison, he's just smooth as silk, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess there'll be a hint of disappointment. He couldn't see out going unbeaten, because you pretty much have 1 foot in the final for Saturday night. He's still got work to do tomorrow night. Jim McEwen's just been like sort of that form all week. He'll be hoping to peak come Saturday night. Scott Mitchell will be the one with a big disappointment, and Richie Parkin was not at the races. But let's look at the credit. Let's finish on a real high. Matthew Edgar, you were superb.
Yeah, just quickly on Scott Mitchell. Yes, only 2 points from his campaign, but he can count himself incredibly unlucky.
Yeah, those 2 4-3s early doors, and then he kicked in with a lovely 3rd game. That 4th game against Edgar was a real kick in the stomach for him, because he was just beginning to look really good, and 4 points would have just laid a foundation for tomorrow. It's all to do tomorrow, but he's well capable of going 4 out of 4 tomorrow night.
It's a nice little race to the line, isn't it?
Enjoyable. It's been a funny old day. I haven't seen the greatest of darts today. I think the one person who'll be sat there really licking his lips is Daryl Pilgrim.
Most certainly will, because we're going to see him on Saturday night. We're going to see you tomorrow from 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the action for Group C. But as far as Group B is concerned, prime time slot for prime time works out perfectly.